Well, hey everybody, it is July 22nd, 1 o'clock. Sorry, I'm a little late. I said I was going to do this about a half hour ago. I ran into some computer issues. It wasn't detecting my hard drive. Realized that I had kind of knocked my computer and the video card kind of slid into the SATA connection and knocked it loose a little bit. But it's all fixed. It's all good. I am back on. I am here. I wanted to have a hangout on some of the Great Debate community news. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I figured it's just maybe better to have a hangout and discuss it and see what you guys think, because I need to get your guys' opinion on a few things. The link to join is in the video description and as well at the Great Debate Community Forum. So come on in. It's open. Anybody can come on in. So here's some of the news that's going on. As you guys know, King Crocoduck has changed the date of the debate to August 11th. If you're wondering why it wasn't on the other day, it is because it is on the 11th now. There's a lot of reasons why that is. He has some other things he needed to do. Ken has some things to do. All in all, it was the best date that we can come up with. Plus, Paulo Gia has a wonderful trailer that he made for the third debate, and that will be on King Crocoduck's channel hopefully next week. He's incorporating it into a shout-out video, and he says hopefully that'll be done by about Monday. So that debate is on the 11th of August. The other debate that's coming up is Negation of P, which is on the July 27th. Let me make sure I got this right here. I don't want to like mislead you all. Yeah, Thursday the 27th. I don't remember the exact time. I'll get it out to you at some point, but it is on the 27th, so prepare for that. It's going to be on morality. I don't like the title that we came up with. It was something along the effect of, along the lines of which methodology is better, Christianity or atheism for establishing morality or something. And it doesn't make much sense as written, because obviously atheism is not a methodology of any kind. So I think we're going to have to be changing that a little bit. Although they liked it. Miranda, Ken's secretary, actually did like that title. But I put it on my Facebook, and I cringed when I saw it. And then Dr. Alex Malpass saw it, and he cringed as well. And I'm like, yeah, this has to be changed. A couple of other big news is I have been in correspondence with Dr. Russell Humphreys, who's a PhD young Earth creationist. He did his thesis on detecting 10 tera of electron volt neutrinos, I believe was his thesis. I was reading some of it the other day. Didn't understand it, of course, but whatever. But he has decided that because Dr. Ross likes my channel, and because people don't always use their full name, he is hesitant to come on, which I think obviously is a very poor excuse. I've explained to him Dr. Ross likes their channel, Mike's likes the channel, and likes the Great Debate community because he gets a fair platform. And by the way, I have got in touch with their secretary again. They will be coming on hopefully again in September to talk about Improbable Planet. But I thought that it was kind of odd that people use synonyms on the internet, and Russell was worried about that. He's like, well, what do people have to hide? And I was like trying to explain to him, no, it's not. Nothing. People are not hiding. People use pseudonyms for a lot of different reasons. One of it is the safety concerns. I mean, we know that on the internet, as people that put forth content on YouTube, we talk about some controversial stuff, and people get hostile. People have been threatened. People have been tracked down. People have been killed. Let's be realistic. I mean, I'm not concerned about it. This is my real name. I use my real address. Anybody can find out where I live. I welcome you down. I'll tell you right now, I live with ex-Marines, and the guy upstairs is like 280 pounds of sheer muscle. Yeah, so, I don't feel threatened by any means, right? Paul G. asked, is the trailer live somewhere? No, not yet. Casey said it should be up by the beginning of next week. So I'm looking forward to that. But Humphreys has said that like I said, I kind of try to put his mind at ease. And we've been having civil dialogue. And I said, how about this? How about we have more of a written thing? We'll put it on the forum on the Great Debate community page, which, by the way, the forums are ready to go. They're just not live linked yet. Justin will be doing that. I'll have him do that probably today. And we'll have the actual forums there. And then what we'll have is people asking him questions specifically in regards to things like rates, heat problem, polonium halos, starlight problem, whatever you guys want. So, but it's going to have to be on a technical level. I don't want the regular basal, hey, well, this. I want somebody who knows what they're talking about, a physicist or an expert in the field. This is like General Han Solo has some great questions in relationship to asynchronous light, things that like Lio has suggested, or fourth dimensional representations of the space-time in Hilbert space and all this other stuff that they've talked about before. Living inside a Schwarzschild radius, that's one thing that Humphreys has put forth, and explaining that on creation day 4 that the Earth was created, but we were inside a black hole or something. It's really weird stuff, but anyway, so what I'm going to have people do is actually write down the actual question, and then I'll post it on the forum. I'll email it to Humphreys, and then I'll get his response and put it on the forum as a response, and we'll keep track of it that way. I think that's decent enough for now. Obviously, we can't get him live. This is the next best thing until he's comfortable enough to go live. Now, the other one is Jerry Bergman, Dr. Jerry Bergman, who is kind of a catch-all. He studies biology, biochemistry, geology, a little bit of everything, but his style is a lot different. His style is more of attacking Darwin. I've watched his things. I've watched his debate with P.Z. Myers, and I watched how he gish gallops, and I watched how he does the Kent Hovind approach, which is, oh, well, Darwin was a bad man, big poopy head, atheist, Nazi, whatever. I mean, it has nothing to do with evolution. So I've been corresponding with him, but he says he's willing to come on. He seems like a decent guy. I mean, he actually has been very friendly, very cordial to me. And Jade had asked recently one of his books. Jade, if you're listening, he had asked where to find one of his specific books. I did ask him that question on your behest. He said it's not out yet. He said hopefully soon. That's why you cannot find it. But he's willing to come on and talk about Dr. Tompkins' work. And so Ruhif, who just woke up because, you know, he sleeps in late because he's a lazy ass, decided to get up, and now he's in my live chat. He said he'll be happy to come on and talk about Dr. Tompkins' work. Now, I'm waiting for that to happen prior to when I send him any Ruhif stuff. But if he asks for it, I'm happy to do so. Ruhif's been sending me some of his concerns with Dr. Tompkins' work. I've also posted a couple of the things that Ruhif has written, well, one, in the Great Debate Community webpage. So if Dr. Bergman will come on, I have to find a time that corresponds to Ruhif's availability because he lives in Sydney. So it's probably like, I don't know, 6 o'clock in the morning for him right now. But if you want to come in, Ruhif, and talk about that, that's fine. I know you're in the live feed. You guys are lurking out there. Apologia, the link to come in, same thing as in the Great Debate Community Google Plus pages. So, yeah, I got 2 downvotes. I know who you are, by the way. I know who downvoted this. I will find you. You forget. Unless yes, you have anonymity, I know where you live. No, that'll change. They're gonna change that and put that positive. Hopefully, if not, whatever. I know how to ban you. Let's see here. So, anyways, when it comes to Bergman, I'm looking forward to that. I told him he could even drop by this hangout, so I don't think he will, but yeah, it'd be kind of cool. The other thing, the other news is that I was brought to my attention that we can get email with the hosting of the Great Community page. Now, I knew you could do it through the domain itself. It would be like Ruhif at greatdebatecommunity.com, Apologia at greatdebatecommunity.com. Now, that was like $3 extra a month, and I was like trying to keep costs down. Yes, I'm poor. Everything I get keeps me going. That's why if you subscribe to me, or if you're PayPal or Cash Me or Patreon, it all goes to you know, me. It all goes to helping me out to survive. Every little bit helps. And $3 a month, I didn't know if justified to cover the cost of email that we may or may not use. However, Justin Franks, who's my webmaster, has graciously offered to set aside another, I think, 25 megabytes of space and do that on server side, and have an email thing through his server network, because he's hosting the Great Debate Community page for us for free on his dime. I don't know particularly how that works. Maybe you guys do, but we'll get with Justin and talk to him more about that. But would you guys like something like that? I mean, the reason I like the at greatdebatecommunity.com is because if you are sending something out to somebody, requesting them to come on as a guest, I think it sounds more official if you have a domain name rather than just, you know, some schmuckatelli. If you have a Steve McRae at greatdebatecommunity.com or Nestlig20 at greatdebatecommunity.com. So Justin's in the live feed. Maybe you want to come in, Justin, for a minute or whatever. The link is in there. Oh, somebody's coming in. Who's coming in? Oh, it's Edgar. Oh.
Yeah, I'll be back.
All right, thank you, sir. Edgar's coming in. But anyways, what do you guys think about that? I don't know how it works. Justin, give us more information about that. But would you think that that having a domain name for our correspondence with people would help? Like again, I've corresponded with Dr. Tompkins, I've Dr. Snelling, Dr. Wood, Dr. Sarfati, all of them, you name it, and none of them want to come on, by the way, as far as defending their young Earth creationist claims, which I find to be very telling. Bergman was the only one willing to, and he seemed actually really thrilled to do so. But the rest of them don't want to talk about this stuff on any technical level. They want to have debates, maybe, but they want it to be some kind of superficial thing, which I'm really not that interested with them. I can get that from any young Earth creationist, any low-hanging fruit, right? No, I want the PhDs because they are where most of the information comes from, right? They write this stuff, so I want to get it, quote unquote, from the horse's mouth. So I've been corresponding with all of them. They all know who I am. They all know who Ruif is. I think they might be filtering at this point because we haven't heard back from them for a while, but maybe not. Bill Lello says on that debate that he had with Kent Hovind, Steve, who is their IT guy, was in the hospital actually. He was not feeling well. That is true. They weren't lying to you. I have corresponded with him. He doesn't know how to do a lot of stuff, maybe. But none of the links for my channel and the Great Debate Community are in that debate or the other ones, the one that Casey's done. Casey's done with them so far. So they keep on saying they're going to do it, and they say, yeah, we're going to put your debates, links in there. But then I get Rhonda telling other people, well, we don't want to send traffic to other channels. Well, which is it? I mean, I put Kent Hovind's link in my video description. Be my guest. Go check out his channel. Why would I care if you go watch his stuff? I can refute it. Anybody in the Great Debate Community, for the most part, can refute his stuff. So I'm not intimidated by it. I don't care if he gets traffic out of it. Whatever. But anyways, so that's kind of the news. I was going to save this till Sunday from the Sunday show, but you know what? I just want to do something today. So anyways, that's kind of the news. What do you guys think about it? We got Jackie in here. We got Edgar, Mr. Intelligent Design. We got Carrie. And by the way, Carrie, I will get with you later today. Carrie's going to have a test run of the Great Debate Community YouTube page, the one that's kind of a community property for everybody. I don't know what his topic is going to be or if he's going to have an open hangout, but that's probably going to be after this hangout. And then if you guys want to watch that and have something to do today, that's fine. Anyways, so what do you guys think about this? Give me some feedback on this. Carrie?
Well, there were three things that I heard you mention. Somebody objected to the use of internet handles.
Yeah, Dr. Humphreys was concerned that people using pseudonyms on the internet, and he likened it to people that are being cowards, and so that he said something like, that's why people wear ski masks when they rob banks.
Well, first year computer administration, I don't know, back in the 90s, they said, don't use your real name. Don't provide as much personal information as you can. So handles, that's the way you go. Pseudonyms, whatever. Just don't provide personal information, and that was key to everything. So to prevent identity theft. So it's kind of interesting that somebody would have actually an issue with that. It's a bit odd.
Yeah, no, and I think exactly the same thing. I mean, I understand people want to have their anonymity. I'm completely fine with that. And I had told him, I said, one's anonymity does not affect the quality of one's argument, right?
True.
And so why would it matter?
What's that saying, that the truth has nothing to fear? So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And one of the other things that was mentioned, you were talking about making a list of questions with regards to one of the upcoming debates. That's probably a really good idea. If we could have a centralized location for that list of questions, any of us who have any contact with any experts could then, like, hey, this is a list of questions we need an expert in your field to answer. Would you be willing? And as long as that list was posted there somewhere, anyone could grab it.
I think that'd be awesome. We could do it by individual basis, like Dr. Tompkins, Dr. Humphreys. Dr. Tompkins did respond to one of our requests. He's talked to us many times, but he responded to one specifically, and that was the one that Ruhef had pointed out to him that led him to having another blog. He said he was going to be having a peer-reviewed paper, and for us to wait for it. Turns out it's not a peer-reviewed paper. It's just another blog that making the same mistakes he made before. But that would qualify as a response, I guess. So sure, I like that idea. Matter of fact, Justin, when do you think we can get the forums linked to the Great Debate page. It's just a plug-in. It's a cheesy little forum thing. It's nothing spectacular, but I think for our use, it'll be fine. Yeah. And real quick, Paula G is saying that most people probably wouldn't need a domain name, like at Great Debate. But it's up to an individual. Maybe Justin doesn't have to give too much space allotted to it. Obviously, Paul says, I think Steve should use one, which is great. But there might be a few other people that would want one. So if you guys want to figure that out, I'm okay with that. I would like Ruhif to have one if possible. You could forward it to his other accounts, of course. So
there was one other thing you mentioned. What was it? I wrote it down.
You're taking notes. I like that.
Discuss Darwinism. Someone was wanting to discuss Darwinism or something to that effect in part of the debate, and you mentioned about you were having a debate that was of who has the better moral system, Christians or atheists.
Yes.
And the only thing that kept running through my mind was like, actually have true binaries in these discussions, or it's not going to make a difference. Like, for example, the difference between a Christian moral system and a secular moral system would be a viable comparison, given that atheism in itself doesn't possess an inherent moral system. So someone, for example, wants to sit there and debate Darwinism. Well, if they're trying to do some sort of reductio absurdum argument that, okay, I will show you that Darwinism is ridiculous, therefore my view is correct. Again, that doesn't work unless it's a true dichotomy that you're talking about. And that's just not how that works.
And that's what he does. Yeah.
Prove that something like creationism and evolution, by debunking one of them, yours is now true. It may be considered the only option, but that's not the same thing as proving it true.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed he's focused on is Darwinism. I want to move away from that. I do want to talk to him about Tompkins' work. He has written some blogs with Dr. Tompkins. Now, again, I don't know how much is him, how much is Tompkins. I don't think even Ruhif knows that who wrote what, but he does have some questions on things like the genomic analysis between humans and chimps. And I will be happy to ask Bergman that, but I'm kind of waiting for him to go into a hangout to kind of ask him these questions. And he seems like a decent enough guy. If he comes in to any hangout, I expect people to be polite. I expect people to be courteous. If they're nice enough to come in and give us their time, I'm fine with that. We don't have to agree with them, right? But these are not fruit on the ground creationists.
Yeah. As long as everyone's civil, it's usually a pretty simple procedure to have any kind of debate.
As long as Matt, the Scotsman, isn't in here, we should be all right.
Yeah, no, I would have to limit the unfortunately, if they do come in, I do have to limit certain people. I would not allow somebody like Scotsman Matt or somebody that I know would be completely trollish. I've already banned Brenda, but somebody like Brenda I couldn't allow. But you guys do know Brenda has been admitted sniping. She sniped EMK's hangout the other day, or MK's hangout the other day. So I can't have her around.
Yeah, she's been getting short with these with these people now. It's like her tolerance is left.
Well, yeah, but she puts herself in these positions, right? She knows that these people have no respect for her, and she knows she's going to get shat over. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it's right by any stretch of imagination, but you don't respond by sniping the hangout. And because if you snipe that hangout, then what's going to prevent you from getting upset and sniping anybody's hangout, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She gets so disrespected. I can definitely see it in her eyes. But she does go into these rooms, but sometimes it's hard not to, I don't know. It's it's part of the fun, I guess. Sometimes you want to go into a hangout that's a little everyone's against you, so you can, hopefully try and
get your persecution porn on.
Yep.
I don't know, dude.
I
to turn somebody into. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I spoke to her privately. She admitted it to me, and she said she doesn't want to deal with the Great Debate community, the G+ part of it anymore. She's gonna stick to Discord.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Let her stick to Discord.
I feel bad for her about all the abuse that she gets, but I did tell her I approve of this, maybe. So.
Yeah, well, of course I feel bad about the abuse she gets, but again, she does put herself in these positions. She goes into Ronnie's room, or excuse me, Veronica's room. Sorry, I don't want to misgender. Veronica's room. Yeah, sorry.
No,
so
I actually stopped you there because she actually talked about that to me, and I know that like I don't know if I have the story straight because this is something I heard from Kevin that you guys are calling her. Or I mean him. Oh my God! You guys are calling Ronnie Veronica because Ronnie purposefully misgendering Brenda or someone else in the community.
Yes.
Right. But like Brenda didn't ask for that.
We don't care. We don't care what Brenda asks for. That's not. It's completely irrelevant.
I don't think too wrong to make a right. Like even misgendering like people who are cis. It still doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no, and I understand the concern, but you know what? We are some shit talkers, and you know it is what it is, right? I mean,
he's done it under malice.
Yeah, he's done it under malice conditions.
I'm okay with lowering my standards for a little bit to be an ass.
Me too. I mean, I want people to realize that I am not ever going to be putting forth myself as a paragon of virtue. I like civil conversation. I like rational conversation in an irrational world. But there are times where we're just dickheads.
And I love standing up for people too.
But in a good way, positive dickheads. I mean, I'm not doing this out of malice. I think it's a learning thing for Veronica because she is purposely trying to hurt people, misgender. So this is just fighting fire with fire. I got no problem with it.
Right. But, for example, if someone in the community was making fun of me for my lists, I really wouldn't want people to fire back and make fun of the way that they talk.
No, I understand that, but no, we wouldn't. I wouldn't do that.
Brenda feels uncomfortable with
no, I wouldn't fire back at them. I would hunt them down and break their face. But other than that, no. I mean, I get what you're saying, but see, this sounds weird, but this is the truth. We have more respect for you as a person than I do like for Brenda. I don't have much respect for her anymore. I just she has done so many things. She has threatened to block or excuse me to flag my channel, and I brought her back. She she called me a bunch of just ridiculous names. And I still took her back. I said enough's enough. Right, enough's enough. So I don't have that much respect for her to begin with. I do. If you said, "Hey, Steve, I as a favor to me, I don't want you like making fun of anybody so they have a lisp or something like that," which I wouldn't do anyways, because a lisp is not malicious, right? I mean, how should I say this? If they make fun of you because you have a lisp and they being malicious about it, yeah, that's malicious, obviously. But if they're doing it as like a joke or something, I don't find it very funny, but that's not malicious, right?
No, that's
the point. That's the difference.
I'm talking about if someone was maliciously
making
fun of my list. I wouldn't want
and I would say
other
fine.
people to turn around and make fun of the way that they talk.
Yeah, I would, but I would be like, okay, Jackie, because of you're asking me this as a friend that I've known for a long time. I'd be okay, and I wouldn't, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the difference. But this is out of my hands with the. What's that?
What if I said that I'm actually not comfortable with us calling Ronnie Veronica?
Well, that's fine. You can express that. But then you don't. Then I would expect you not to do so.
Yeah, I'm.
But we're still going to. But that's because we're different.
A lot of us are from the school that you don't start a fight, but you finish it.
All right.
You have to.
I'm just throwing my opinion out there. I'm not trying to tell people.
You're more than allowed to. That's what you know. What this is what the Great Debate community is about: throwing opinions out there. Matter of fact, I allow people on my videos to express their opinions, except when it gets overbearing. I have this one guy who's posting the same post like on 50,000 threads. Enough's enough, right? That's not open dialogue at that point anymore. That's a spam. But no, I mean, I'm happy if somebody has a dissenting opinion. That's what we can talk about, right? Anyways, want to move on to the next topic? Great. Is that a yes? Everybody's so quiet. Okay, so one of the things I've got involved with on a new Facebook thread is how to share videos, how to promote videos. and there's a very small group, but it's consisting of a lot of big YouTubers, including like Logic's girlfriend, and Holy Kool-Aid, and a few other people. Although her channel's not that big, but Logic's clearly is. By the way, I think that I reserved a spot for his Patreon event next month, so I should be on his channel next month. Hopefully, that'd be awesome. But you know, I was asking her. I Seth's her name, by the way, and I asked her, you know, what's the best way to share? And I said, you know, I'm trying to get people to share the videos, and I said, maybe people don't know that when you share a video, there are options when you go to share. If you look at a specific video and it says add to, share, report, and then more, when you click the share, if the video is over, it'll come up with a bunch of icons. These icons so it allows you to easily upload it to StumbledUpon, Tumblr, Blogit, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, the whole 9 yards, right? Some of them I don't even know of, like a Russian one. So I was thinking maybe people that are not sharing it on there, because if they share them on there, those are going to get wider distribution, and it actually shows that on the vidIQ where things are being referenced from. So where you're getting a reference. So in other words, if somebody goes from StumbledUpon and they find one of our videos and they click on it, it'll link back to the video, but then it triggers a little thing on vidIQ that says, okay, you got a reference from then. So it tells you where your sources are. So I was thinking that we should try an experiment. We'll pick a video, and this applies to all the members of the Great Debate community, everybody on the Great Debate Community Network. We'll take a video, and then we'll try everybody to upload it to like StumbleUpon, right? StumbleUpon is it's a little icon at the very bottom of the share, and then we'll see if we get an increase in references from that. So, for example, the Ket Hovind Bill Ludlow debate. I think that's the second most popular video I have right now, soon to be the most popular video at probably another week or so at that. If you guys go to that video, if you want me to link it for you, I will, and then hit share, and then share it to StumbledUpon. You can put it under any category you want, maybe atheism, I don't care. I got feedback here real quick. Is that you, Tom? And then we'll see if we get an increase.
I've been sharing you on Grindr, and I've got a lot of positive feedback.
On who?
Debate.
On what?
Grindr.
Oh, Grindr.
Grindr.
I thought that was a dating site. If not, it sounds like one. It should be. It sounds dirty. If you guys go to that video, is that a video source? And then hit share.
Why don't you look it up, Steve? I think you might like it. No.
Grindr? No, Grindr is it's a gay dating site. Oh, okay.
A lot of thumbs up on.
Sorry, I don't know much about gay dating sites, Tony. I'm sorry.
Great debate.
Yeah, sorry.
Wait, how do I know about it?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys keep talking.
That's kind of like the question I was asking myself, but that's okay. I don't judge. Remember, I'm the one that put up the little picture of the ark with the rainbow thing on it that Ken Ham had. I thought that was funny, nice. And it says Ken Ham, big Ken Ham's gay boat ride or something.
The big gay.
It's hilarious. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, big gay.
That's high quality lols.
Yeah, big gay Ken Ham's boat ride. You know. Let me see if I can find this video. Okay, here we go. So, Ken Ham debates Bill Ludlow. I got 9,300 views on it. Okay, and I know that's going to hit much higher than that. So let me go to my live feed here. Okay, so that's the video I put in the live chat. If you guys click on that video, and I'll see people doing it in real time if I go check.
I think both your mics are working pretty well. Welcome, everybody. We have another debate today.
Okay, I'm hitting feedback. I don't know where it's from. I think it's from myself, but I don't know where.
Need a little bit because I guess we're getting some background noise.
Where am I getting feedback from?
It's 2:30 my time. It is.
It drives me nuts when I do this.
This one's going to be.
You must have
No, I got open tabs and I don't remember which one it is. Oh, there it is. There we go. All right, so
if you guys click on that,
no, that's not it either.
And I'll see
where am I getting this noise from?
Check. I think both your mics are working pretty well.
Is it the Hino?
Feedback. I don't know where it's
that
no,
you're
it's from the
hearing?
live. I'm hearing it from the. Oh, you know what? I bet it's my live
Where am I
dashboard.
getting feedback from?
Yeah, it's my live dashboard. Okay.
Drives me nuts.
Nope. I just turned that off and I still hear it.
You must have given thing.
There you go. Okay. I click one off and the other one clicks on. Weird. Oh, did I post your channel, Bill? Well, you could do that one too. Promote his too. I mean, it's his, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. It's his freaking debate. I don't care. He can post his to blog it. That's my channel one. So when you go to share, and of course we'll do this to Bill's too, of course. But the very first thing it says, share to stumble upon, opens a new window, and then you just say, is it safe for work? You say yes, and then you put the category. You can put atheism. That's fine. And then underneath it, it'll put tags, and then put like evolution, Kent Hovind, younger creationism, Christianity. Those are all good tags. And then what I'll do is, I don't have it on this particular browser. I'll go to my other browser at some point. It'll take a day probably to update, but I will see that if we get any more referrals from StumbleUpon. If we do, then we can start doing that more often, and we can also use Reddit. Kevin B, Jackie's betrothed, has suggested we get the subreddit our Great Debate Community, which is fine. We can upload videos to there and to the atheist or skeptic forums. You just can't upload your own video. Yeah, Bill, I know. The first thing I posted was your channel. I got that. I just found the video. I didn't realize it was yours or mine. I don't really care. Promote your video as well, so put it on StumbleUpon. But I put mine in there. That's the one to my link. And then we'll track as an increase, because other people want to know as well in this little Facebook group. They want to see, you know, if StumbleUpon, if Blogit, if Dig, if Tumblr make a difference as far as getting more people to watch the videos, right? Because that's what it's kind of all about. So how many people have already done it and put it on StumbleUpon in the live feed? Anyone? Insulin, Bill, Crazy Tacky, Anarchy, George Meyer, Nestle, Quickie. We got, you know, like several dozen of people out there. But anyways, what's going on here? Scott Spangler is in here. He hasn't been around for a while. He's actually in my greatest hits video. He's in my earlier videos.
Hello.
Yeah.
Is this mic working okay?
Yeah.
I haven't been on for a while.
Brian Sapient from the Rational Response Squad loved your comment when you said somebody says something about why God something, or then you say because he doesn't exist.
Because he doesn't exist.
Yeah, that was epic. He really liked that. It was, I gotta admit, it was a catchy quip. So did anybody finish putting this on Blogit? Or excuse me, not Blogit, StumbleUpon? Blogit's good too, I guess. You could try that one. The Anarchy says, why was my name just mentioned? Don't you pay attention? Anarchy, I asked if you had already put it on StumbleUpon to see if we could do a test here and see if it makes a difference. So go to my video, not this one. Go to that one in the live chat. That's the Bill Lello Kent Hovind debate. Go share, go StumbleUpon, and we'll see if we get some referrals in a day or so. I'll let you know. Insulin Soccer says Ken still hasn't posted the debate he had with Bill. Yeah, no, he had. He actually has posted it. I saw it up there the other day. Heart on my sleeve. Is there a Great Debate Community subreddit yet? That's a great forum for discussing and sharing. Not yet, I don't think. Jackie, has Kevin appropriated the subreddit yet?
Sorry, say that again?
Has Kevin appropriated the Great Debate Community subreddit?
I don't know. He literally just left.
Oh. All right, well, we'll find out.
I'll ask him when we come to that.
Anarchy's asking what is StumbleUpon. I just explained it to you, Anarchy. I'm taking away your spanner. No, I'm not taking away your spanner. If you go to share in a video that's already been completed, it'll come up with a bunch of icons. StumbleUpon, Pinterest, Blogit, Dig, Tumblr, Twitter, something in Russian that I don't know, and other things. Facebook, Google+, Lincoln. If you share to those platforms, it helps to trigger an algorithm on YouTube where it's called trending. And that means the video will be promoted more So there's 3 things that the algorithm looks at minimum that I know of. It looks at the likes and dislikes. It doesn't matter which, as long as it has likes or dislikes. How many people viewed it, and how many people have shared it. Anarchy says Jackie sounds cute. She is adorable. She's very taken. You touch her, I break your face.
I am extremely taken. Yeah.
Extremely taken. Like to the point of scary. They're like one entity. They move together like in unison. It's really fucking creepy. I've met them. I've hung out with both of them. It's creepy. It's like Brangelina.
Creepy.
It's creepy.
Cute.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But yes, she is adorable.
Kevin said that he had not done the subreddit thing yet. Just because of there's a. Should I explain it? Okay. He doesn't want to use his main account, and his alternate account that hasn't made enough posts yet. I don't know how Reddit.
I know what he means. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so he's working on it.
Yeah, so we would either wait for him to get enough posts or somebody else. I have a Reddit account. I don't know how many posts I have. I don't think I'd be able to make a subreddit anyways. But if somebody is more familiar with Reddit that has the ability to make subreddits, that's fine too. Or we can wait for Kev. I don't care. But you don't need to have many posts to upload. So if you have a Reddit account, you can still upload the Kent Hovind Bill Ludlow debate to subreddit atheism, and then anybody can go over and upvote it. So if he can do that at least, and then we can have a call out and everybody upvote it and get some more views.
Hello.
Hey,
Steve.
Edgar. Yeah, Edgar.
Hey, Edgar. Can you ask Bill? Hey. Can you ask Bill to debate with me?
No, I won't. Seriously, I won't, because I don't think you're somebody that anybody should debate, Edgar.
But are the requirements for the debate in science that you must have a model against a model?
Bill can do whatever he wants. He's a big boy. He doesn't have to do anything I tell him to do, or he doesn't have to take my recommendation.
He can defend himself.
But what I can do is not recommend to him that he debates you. Oh, Heart on My Sleeve says I would wait. Heart on My Sleeve says I would volunteer Reddit assistance. I'm a Reddit junkie. Oh, okay, I don't really know you too well. Heart on My Sleeves. Actually, I don't think I know you at all. But we could work something out. Why don't you? Can you come into the hangout and join us and talk about it? Sarah Rodriguez, you did. Oh, Sarah did a super chat. Isn't this what got you in trouble, Sarah? And I don't want to see you get in trouble with your wife. I love the super chat. I love the donations. God, they help me amazingly. But I am worried because I don't want somebody to get in trouble because they're donating. So make sure that you're not going to get in trouble. But thank you very much, Sarah. But I have to read this now. She says, well, of course, this is to me, I guess, but I farted on my first date. It sounded like a balloon animal asking a question. Anybody? No? Really?
Somebody must
that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Now, Pew Review's meant to find that so he can put it on his soundboard. But thank you, Sarah, for the $10. By the way, the super chat is open, but if you want to do more directing, send $2 to my PayPal, or become a patron for $1, $5, $10, $20, $50 a month. That's fine. I don't mind. I actually have two people at 40. I think. What?
I know I just said that I'm very, very, very taken by Sarah.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Sarah and you definitely. I don't think Kevin. If Kevin has an issue with that, I will beat him. Yeah, no.
He had no issue.
No issue. Good man. No, yeah. If you and Sarah want to have at it, absolutely. Yeah, go for it. Shit, yes.
As long as her wife has no problem.
I don't think. Well, that's a little bit different. Her wife might. But $5 from George Meyer. Mr. ID is delusional, which is a form of mental illness. There you go. Which I agree.
Well, I think I have to defend myself about that, because the moment you say I'm a delusional in science, you must first know what is intelligence, okay? Because if you don't know,
there you go. Great
defense.
No.
If you don't know the topic of intelligence, which is my basis, how do you know that I'm delusional? Okay.
Edgar, we don't care.
All right.
Yeah, we don't care. We think your intelligence is full of shit. Heart on My Sleeve, Justin. I would love to collaborate and spread great debate community on Reddit. Did you make the subreddit? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That's awesome. So yeah, if you can you come in here, Heart on My Sleeve? I am not a big Reddit person, but Tony says, can you send me a link to the Hangouts? Yes, I can send you a link to the Hangouts. But yeah, Edgar, I don't think anybody should ever debate you on anything. You don't know enough about anything to be debatable on. You just throw words out.
No,
it makes no sense.
That's the problem, because I have a model.
Nobody cares.
The model is
seriously.
Nobody cares, but in the debate in science, we need to debate, right?
Yeah, and I can get a hemorrhoid on my ass. It has just as much to do with the conversation.
So I think because until no one could solve the topic of intelligence, no one could know about science and reality.
Yeah, well,
right,
Edgar,
Steve?
you're so far removed from reality. I like you, man. I do. I like you, Edgar. You're a nice guy, but you are so
what
far
is wrong
removed.
With intelligence and reality?
No, what's wrong with the reality is that you don't grasp reality. You don't live in reality. This is the problem.
Yes.
You just don't. I tell you what, Edgar. I would actually enjoy watching you debate somebody like Kent Hovind. I would be fine with that. I would be.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please tell him. I'm contacting him. I would like to help him to know my model, because once he knows my model, he will be unbeatable.
I think he'd probably run away. I think he'd probably go, "What the hell is this?" And
Sam,
leave
this is perfect.
crying.
I'm glad you came in.
You could also go to the Google Plus page for the community and post a list of words and definitions. Like you've used two of them here: intelligence, science, reality. List your definitions for those words, and you'll save us like hours of time.
I honestly believe that if Mr. Intelligent Design and Kent Hovind had a debate, if you and Kent Hovind had a debate, Kent Hovind would become an atheist.
No, I don't think so. He will first think. First, once he knows about a new model that will going to replace the theory of evolution, he will be very happy about it. Because
it would open up a new black hole.
Remember, Steve, that it is not I who said that intelligence is a very difficult topic. The one who researched the topic of intelligence said that intelligence is a very hard topic in science.
Have you ever taken a university course on intelligence? I know that my undergrad university had a course entitled Intelligence.
But Sam, you're using the word intelligence based on the definition of non-intelligence. You equate it with non-intelligence.
I didn't say that I used any definition.
He didn't use any definition.
I said, did you take a course on this topic, right? Like, you realize there are people who do this for a living, who research,
But you do realize that they were the one who said that they didn't know about intelligence. Do you know that? They were the one who said that they cannot nail intelligence because they didn't know it.
I've never heard of a psychologist.
You see, I can give you the link if you want. I can tell you, there are 7-to-1 definitions of intelligence. That's how they mess it. A word with 7-to-1 definition? Are you crazy?
I don't know what that has to do with anything I just said. Can someone explain? Like, I am working at the same time right now. So, like, I'm watching my job terminate. Can someone who's not Edgar verify or deny that he just said something that sounds like complete gibberish and unrelated to what I said?
Again. Yeah, I can't. Sorry.
I mean, Sam, we must know reality. Because the moment our
what does that have to do with me asking you if you've ever actually taken a course on intelligence?
No, I didn't take course intelligence, but
okay, you could have just said that then, because that was the exact question I asked, Edgar.
If you are going to study intelligence in our science today, they were the one who said that they didn't know about intelligence.
Sam, how's it feel to not know about intelligence, Sam?
I mean, I'll agree with you that it's still what exactly is intelligence is still a topic of debate. I don't know why you're so arrogant that you think that with complete ignorance of the field, you can solve these things.
Because, they are using the wrong basis, the wrong perspective. Once you get, the only way to solve the problem in science is to make an experiment. And they're using the wrong experiment, and they're using the wrong basis.
Well, why are they making the wrong?
Well,
let's start with one, Edgar. Let's start with one thing at a time. What experiments are they conducting, and why is it wrong?
Well, first, they had no experiment to test their intelligence.
Well, no, that's actually false, right? They have an entire field called psychometrics, which is about measuring different psychological states. Now, granted, like, I think it's not a very scientific field, but you have to actually explain how they're not testing these things. They are testing them.
Remember that when they test intelligence in psychology, they are assuming that intelligence is always equal to natural process or natural phenomenon.
That's not true. They're assuming that intelligence is a thing.
No, they don't.
Right?
They don't.
Okay, because give me an example of a psychological test and what is wrong with it?
What, for example, when a person makes a skill, when you're, for example, if you're a worker.
That's not a psychological test, Edgar.
No, they use that. In the 7-to-1 definition, they use the word skill as one of psychological strength. You see, that's not a psychological test.
I'm asking for a specific psychological test, and you are going off. Like, are you listening to me? What did I just ask for?
Okay, let's say intellect.
That's not a psychological test. Can you give an example of an actual psychological test?
Remember, in psychology, they had a cognitive psychology. Remember that.
That's not a psychological test. That's an area of study. Name a psychological test.
Part of psychology, right? Remember,
that's not a psychological test. I'm going to ask you again. Name a psychological test. Name a psychological test. I'm not going to stop this until you name a psychological test, Edgar.
Well, when you use psychology, they are using the word mind. Okay.
That's not a psychological test, Edgar. Name a psychological test.
No. They are using that. They're using that mind.
That doesn't matter. I'm asking you to name a psychological test and then prove why it's unscientific, and you can't even do part one.
No,
how can you hope to solve the problems of psychology?
I'm telling you, there are.
Don't interrupt me. Name a psychological test.
In the mind of a person.
That's not a psychological test. Name a psychological test.
No. Wait. You don't cut me in the middle. Okay. Because in psychology, are using the word how minds works. Okay, so because they are trying to
psychological test. I've asked you multiple times. Now, how many times have I asked? Name a psych and talk about why it's not scientific.
First, I have told you that they had defined 7-to-1 definition of psychology.
That's not a psychological test. Name a psychological test. Like if you want to make a deep insight about psychology, it does behoove you to actually know what the field talks about, right? Now you may have some insight that I don't have. I'm not an expert on psychology, nor do I pretend to be one. But it says a lot about you when you can't even name a psychological test.
Yeah, they have.
I can name like half a dozen off the top of my head.
Okay, can you give me? No, can you give me one?
No, I'm asking you.
You are claiming that you are better than me.
I think that a potato is better than you, but that's not the point.
Yeah. Because once you claim that you are better than me, then tell me what is the psychological test that you are looking for.
No, this is just your method of dodging because you know that you don't have an answer.
No, I have an answer.
Okay, what is a psychological test then? Like, give me an example of a psychological test.
Okay. If I can give you the psychological test, can you give me the definition of intelligence?
Just give me a psychological test, and we'll.
Yeah. I will give you that psychological test. Can you give me the definition of intelligence better than me?
Okay, why are you just dodging this question? Why are you dodging this question?
Edgar, you can't ask a question of a question. You have to answer the question first, and then let the conversation progress after that. Now, you've been asked, can you name any type of psychological test? I know anybody in here probably can think of one or two off the top of their head.
I mean, Steve, you can ask me, you can correct me, but I don't think that I'm asking an unfair question.
No. I think anybody in here can come up with at least one or two tests that we, as lay people. He supposedly has solved all these problems, and so I would like to know if he knows any of the psychological tests that have, anything. Can you name one?
Yeah, but I can give you even one.
Okay,
but can you give me also?
No. There's no but. There's no but. Yeah, give us one. It's not conditional.
Yeah,
give us one.
I can do that.
Okay, great. Give us one.
Can you?
It's irrelevant to you answering the question. Answer the question, then we'll move on from there. But can you give us a psychological test?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What is one?
Also, can you give me the definition of intelligence? Okay. Yeah, because we have.
No, just name a psychological test. Why are you afraid of this? Like, is this the same reason why you can't publish in a peer-reviewed journal, even though you claim to be a genius? Like, I mean, God, like, how do you wake up in the morning? Like, honestly, this is a very simple question. Name a psychological test, and then we can talk about whether it's scientific or not.
There you go.
No, I can name it. But okay, I will give you.
Okay, he's gonna give us one. Go ahead.
It is fair. It is fair when you ask.
Okay, go ahead, Edgar. Give us one.
Okay, when you ask something for me, I need also to ask something for you, for fairness, because you are claiming that I'm wrong.
Fair here.
Yeah,
let's make a deal.
You a completely fair question.
I can provide.
Hey, can I say something about this, Edgar? You're either dodging the question or you don't actually know a psychological test. Either way, it's looking really bad for you. So I think the best way to get out of the situation is to just name a psychological test.
I agree. And this is Jackie. She's like the most fairest person in the community, right? She's like the entire...
Because, in this kind of discussion, the reason why you are asking me a psychological test, because you are assuming that I am wrong. Okay.
No.
So
that's not why.
That's not why.
But that's why.
No. Let me, Edgar. Let me explain.
Okay.
The reason that I'm asking this question is because you made a very specific allegation that the way that psychologists talk about the mind is unscientific, and so what I said is that can we actually talk about specific things? Because there's varying degrees to which psychologists are scientific and aren't, right? So let's talk about a specific psychological test. Okay, go.
But you are going to give me also the right definition of intelligence, because you are trying to.
No, that's not what I'm trying to do. We're trying to discuss. Stop it, Edgar. Why are you?
Tell me that
why are you afraid of this?
You're implying that I'm wrong.
Can I tell you that? Edgar,
no, I'm not.
Edgar,
did I imply that he was wrong? Then?
No, nobody said he's right or wrong.
Yeah.
But Edgar, this is why I will not ever recommend anybody to debate you. How can anybody debate you? How can anybody debate you if you won't even answer simple questions here?
I can, but this is not a debate. This is a question.
It doesn't matter if you cannot answer or have a dialogue with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Steve, I'm not trying to speak for you as a moderator, but I think if he can't answer this question in the next 5 minutes, you should just boot him.
I've done that before.
Not worth it.
No, I've done that before. And Edgar knows it.
I'm not trying to be unreasonable or tell you how to do what you do, but, this is... To quote someone who elicited an angry reaction, this is comical.
Yeah, no, Edgar. Okay, I mean, Edgar. I have ejected you from before when you go like this and you refuse to carry on a dialogue. If you ask a question, we try to answer it to the best of our abilities. Some people go extreme and try to answer it, and then you don't understand it, but at least try. I think it's fair that we ask you a question, because you very, very rarely ever answer a direct question, and when you do, you butcher it to no end. Okay, so why did you just give us one type of psychological test?
There are several types of or categories of psychological tests. One of the tests that there are always a mess in science is what they call the IQ or achievement test.
Okay, why do you think that those are unscientific?
First, when you are going to use the word IQ or intelligence quotient test, the one who made the intelligence quotient test, they don't know the definition of intelligence.
No, that's not true. IQ assumes
it's true.
Correct. IQ assumes a certain definition of intelligence. Yes, it does.
But they were the one who said that they don't know about intelligence. You need to remember that they were the one who said.
That's not what they said. Do you know what they call intelligence on an IQ test? It's like abstract mathematical.
You were the one who said that you don't know. No, anybody can invent that mathematical formula.
What are you
anybody
talking
can
about?
anybody can do that.
Do you know what an IQ
First,
test
you must know reality and intelligence. Not anybody's invention.
Right? Like he doesn't have the ability, like he doesn't have the base intelligence to actually have a conversation.
I know, and he just used the word itself.
They were the one.
Edgar, the word itself, intelligence, is kind of irrelevant. I mean, we can deal with concepts. We can talk about people being cognitive, their aptitude, their spatial, awareness. As I think Sam said, what was it? Logical reasoning, or what was your?
Well, it's like logical, abstract, and mathematical reasoning.
Yeah, logical, abstract, mathematical reasoning. Okay, so
like I have a problem with that being like the definition of intelligence. I think it's far too limited, and I think it's like another objection that I have is I think it's very cultural specific, right? Like, what's the use of being good at calculus if you're like in a forest in Papua New Guinea? Right? Like, I think that's a completely fair, right? I think that intelligence is very context specific.
It is.
You see, that's a problem. Okay, that's the problem. You need to remember. You need to know about science. Science itself, the scientists in the people who work in the topic of intelligence, they were the one who raised their both two hands and said, "No, we don't know about intelligence. We cannot name."
I didn't say that it's unscientific. I said that it's just a poor definition.
But science must be real. Must be in line with reality.
No, it doesn't.
It must.
You're
talking.
Can you beat this guy?
Which science is not? Which science is not part of reality?
Theoretical science.
I don't think that any science.
No, you give an example. Give an example.
I'm not a scientific realist.
Which science is not part of reality? Yeah, give me.
All science.
No, it's my turn.
Realist.
Now it's my turn.
I am not a scientific realist. Do you know what scientific realism is?
No. You are the one you claim that science must not be confined to reality. Now tell me which science is not part of reality. If you don't answer
any of them,
must be both.
If you're, Edgar,
I already said I'm not a scientific realist.
Edgar, listen. If you're
you need to slow down and listen to what I'm saying.
Edgar, I'm not a scientific realist either. I'm a scientific instrumentalist. If you're asking the question to a scientific realist of what science comports with reality,
no, because he claimed because you remember, don't claim something that you don't know. He claimed that in science you don't have to know reality to know about science. But which part of science is part of reality?
Yeah, but that's his perspective. That's fine. People can have different perspectives.
Not perspective, but he never said that.
I did.
He said that.
Let's start with one thing.
No. Which one?
At a time.
Reality.
What experiments are they conducting, and why is it wrong? I'm not a scientific realist. Like, you need to learn how to either.
You had no experimental test your intelligence.
Why? No, that's actually false. Why are you
Why
are you interrupting me when you're about measuring questions?
Sorry. Okay, continue.
Different psychological.
Like, you need to slow down and actually have a conversation.
Like, I think.
Okay, I'm not a scientific realist, so I don't think that any science represents reality. I think that they are predictive models.
Well, you need to remember this the reason why you are wrong, because when you use the word prediction is the reason why you are. That's when the reason why you don't know about science. You don't have no power to debate me. You didn't know about prediction in science.
I do know about prediction in science. What are you talking about?
You don't know about prediction in science. What is prediction in science, actually? Can you tell me?
Prediction in science is a hypothesis.
No, hypothesis in science, but not prediction.
A hypothesis is a prediction.
Yeah. Edgar, how is a hypothesis not a prediction? I'm curious.
From prediction.
No.
How is a hypothesis different than a prediction?
Yeah. I'd like to know that too, Edgar. I mean, if you have a hypothesis, how you're saying that's not a prediction? I don't see how you're saying it's not a form of predictive modeling.
My goodness. That's the one who would like to debate me in science. You don't know about prediction in science, and you're trying to equate prediction with hypothesis.
You have already stated that, but you have not answered the man's question.
Yeah, you can laugh, but we're asking you to explain it.
What's the difference between I actually work, unlike you, I actually work as a scientist. So
if you work in science, you must know what is prediction in science, because once you have an explanation in science, you can predict it.
Repeating it?
But you don't know what is the prediction in science. My goodness.
Why are you repeating yourself? Like,
hey, can you kick this guy, or you want me to just end this right now?
We'll keep it going for a while. People are entertained. It's Saturday. 60 some odd plus people are watching.
How smart
whatever.
All right, let me ask. What's this guy's name? Mr. Intelligent, right?
Mr. Intelligent Design.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a question, Mr. Intelligent. How can you draw knowledge from your senses?
Can you speak? I hear an echo. Can you
Okay.
Can
you draw knowledge from your senses?
Can you draw what?
Can you draw knowledge from your senses?
Okay. Because I define knowledge means I have six science, but when I use
there's one definition of knowledge, and that is a fact, something true. A universal fact.
That's not a definition of knowledge. I'm sorry.
Knowledge, something that is true.
No, it's not.
Yeah, let's use that. Let's use the definition. Yeah,
okay.
That's not even.
So what is another definition?
Knowledge is I mean, if you're a reliabilist, which I tend to be, it's reliably produced, justified belief.
Yeah, RTB.
Yeah.
That's what I go by.
I'm asking for your definition of knowledge.
Yeah, I think for me that's the correct definition.
In reliabilism or reliable true belief, it's knowledge that's true, that can be used, something you can actually rely upon. That's what I call reliabilism, as taken as truth, and it comports with reality. It's kind of like justified.
Well, no, I don't think that it
well, it has to be true.
No, well, you believe it's true, right? Like, truth and knowledge are different things, right? Like, truth is a label that you put on propositions, right? So, like, you would say something is true if and only if, and then insert your truth theory, right? The key thing about knowledge is that if you're a reliabilist, which Steve and I are, right? It has to do with, like, how are you producing that belief, right? So knowledge is just is more about like how reliable that belief is, and if it's something that can be reliably reproduced, we say that we know something.
Yes.
Right? And so it's a way of classifying belief.
Like, for example, I know... Oh, sorry.
Correctly.
I'm going to say, I know that the sun will rise...
If I understand it correctly.
Yeah, no, I agree. If I say, like, I know the sun is going to rise tomorrow, sun is going to rise tomorrow, right? That's reliabilism.
How do you know that?
Because I'm relying on the previous experience based upon the fact that we have a precedence of the sun rising at the same time based upon our modeling. So I can make.
So I'll ask you, how do you draw knowledge from your senses? How do you draw that proposition or that axiom?
Because I'm
senses.
Because I'm both an empiricist and a rationalist. Empiricism is drawing from your senses. I think that we have a combination. But when you ask somebody about their theory of knowledge, and Sam says he's a reliabilist, so am I. That, to us, is how we use the word knowledge in our framework, in our epistemological framework. So if I say, I know the sun is going to rise tomorrow, that's perfectly fine from our perspective. We can do that. That's not inconsistent with reliable true belief. Sam, would you agree?
The second coming happens today.
Well, then I was wrong.
What if is irrelevant?
Yeah, what ifs don't matter.
You'd be wrong.
Yeah, what
right? Like,
as of right now, I'm relying
on.
You're
100% certain.
Right.
Like, people make this mistake.
Knowledge is something that's true.
No,
that's not. That's not the case, though.
It's like
you can know things, and
sorry.
Yeah, you're.
Well, you guys think things. Okay, you guys opine things, but you don't know things.
You need to stop interrupting people. Okay. Do you understand that? Okay. Like, you're conflating knowledge with truth. Truth is a property of propositions, right? So what truth is it's a label, right? It's the equivalent of that. I could say the same sentence, right? Let's say that A is true. The way that you should be able to reword it is true that A, right? Like, that's the key thing. You're talking about a property that A possesses. Knowledge has to do more with the psychological and I don't know what the adverb of it is, but the justification, justificatory.
Justificatory.
God, I'm Steve. I've talked to you too much. You're infecting me. That's a fantastic joke. Fuck all of you for not laughing.
Oh God, if Pew gets on his soundboard, that's going to sound really worse than it really was.
But yeah, like that. Like, knowledge has to do more with how you can justify that psychological state of believing something, because you can't. There are very few things you can prove to be absolute truths.
Absolutely agree. So does it make sense to you, Baptist? Because again, you're asking us about from our our epistemological framework.
Well, you
our
guys
position.
are redefining the definition of knowledge
No, we're
and then
not.
conforming it to
No,
your
not.
framework.
No, we're not. That
No,
isn't-
I'm not.
That's not all.
All right, Google the word knowledge and tell me what it says.
Do you think that Google is a substitute for reading philosophical literature?
I get mine. I get
no, I don't read the dictionary
in an
definition.
1832
No,
Webster's dictionary.
No, I read mine from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. That's my go-to.
All right, go ahead. Tell me the definition.
Do you realize that
it's quite long.
Do you understand that we should just talk about whether there's no such thing as a correct or an incorrect definition, right? There's only useful and not useful definitions.
I was just about to say that definitions don't tell you dictionaries don't tell you the definitions of words. They tell you the usages. It just so happens that they have definitions of those usages, but the context is given based on the field in which that you're talking about it. So if you say nothing, if you look up the definition of nothing in a dictionary, that's going to tell you several usages. But there's a philosophical and there's kind of like a colloquial use of the word nothing. So, saying that, well, here's what I'm using and how I'm using it is more, I guess, effective than telling someone, no, you don't have the correct definition.
Agreed.
And exactly. If you're saying something that's epistemological, then you need to go to the epistemological definition, which is exactly what you're dealing with.
Predestination. Is that?
All right. So what's the epistemological definition? If you can rephrase it or re-say it again.
Do you agree?
But I think it must be.
One second, Edgar. Do you agree that there are other forms of frameworks for acquiring knowledge other than justified true belief, one of which is RTB, or reliable true belief? Do you believe that that framework exists?
Yes, I believe that metaphysical framework exists, but I don't believe that you can draw knowledge from that.
Well, then you're going against
I think, but
everything that's been written about epistemics.
Do you think I care about the history of epistemics?
Well, whether you care about it or not,
if you were a rational human being, you would care about how people for thousands of years have figured this out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's like me saying, well, Reformed epistemology is not a valid framework. I don't agree with Reformed epistemology, but it is a framework for acquiring knowledge from their perspective. It does exist.
Well, I would say quote unquote knowledge, not actual true knowledge. What they think is knowledge.
What do you mean by true knowledge?
I was about to say
in reference to what? In reference to what? If I say I like vanilla ice cream, is that
Steve,
true?
can you let him answer?
What do I mean by true knowledge?
Yeah, that seems like a kind of a weird term.
It's a weird term. Well, true knowledge in my framework, which is a scripturalist framework, you can only have knowledge that equates to the mind, knowledge in the mind of God.
That doesn't really say anything. Like, what do you mean by true knowledge? Like, what is being...
Whatever's in the mind of God, then...
I mean, again, that doesn't seem to be... Like, that doesn't seem to be anywhere...
It's vacuous.
...near what you're saying. Yeah, like...
You're asking me what is knowledge, right? What is true knowledge, right?
It doesn't even make sense from a theological standpoint.
Let's start with, like, what do you believe is knowledge?
Something that is true in the mind of God.
Okay, that doesn't make sense in light of what knowledge actually functions as.
True in his mind that is identical with what God believes in his mind.
You're confusing knowledge with truth. I think that's the problem here.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and especially epistemic certainty.
All right, so tell me one thing you know that is true.
I'm not God.
I know that theologically the scriptures state that you cannot get clean water from a filthy vessel, which means nothing you say can be true, even if God poured it into you, because it wouldn't leave you pure. From a purely theological standpoint, you got no ground.
Yeah, I don't believe in general revelation, that you can get knowledge from that. Only special revelation. I believe knowledge can only come from divine revelation.
I never specified that.
It wouldn't matter either way. You're still
you cannot claim to be anything but a theologically imperfect vessel. Therefore, you cannot distribute.
So knowledge is impossible according to you, sir?
No, your Bible says that it's impossible.
The way you're expressing
Where does it say it's impossible?
It says you are a flawed vessel inherent with sin who cannot issue perfect utterances of any kind.
So Adam, he did not say a single utterance that was true?
Adam is the original sin. He's the holder of the original sin. So he would no longer be capable of being used as a reference.
So why would God give divine revelation if it's not comprehensible?
How about you ask him?
Yeah, you seem to have this divine network to him to acquire knowledge. What does he tell you? I mean, you have this mystical connection.
I told you, no mystical connection. I told you, propositional revelation, sir.
How do you determine
divine revelation?
How do you determine what is propositional revelation to somebody else? How do you say this is what comports with the mind of God? Under what metric do you use?
Whatever God has given in His Word.
That's circular.
That's an expression of what is in the mind of God.
That's circular
through men.
How do we know that the mind of God is propositional in nature, right? Like we're talking about, I mean, presumably you believe that God is,
because God is truth according to the Bible.
I am in the middle of a goddamn sentence, sir. I'm in the middle of a sentence, so I'm going to repeat myself. How do we know that God's knowledge is propositional, right? Because God is outside of space and time. It seems to me that propositions exist, in the sense that we talk about propositions sensibly. We talk about them within space and time, right? Also, God is all-knowing. None of us are all-knowing, right? Like, I don't know what it means to have propositional thought if you know everything, right? Because if he knows everything, everything's just a brute fact to him. It's just self-evident, right? But you would coherently, propositionally express that. Right, like, so I don't even know how this idea gets off the ground, because
knowledge isn't analogical. It's univocal.
I am not done with what I'm saying, sir. Like, and the thing would be is, right, like, I don't know how you get off the ground knowing that God would express thought propositionally, if God expresses thought at all, considering that thought, again, is something that seems quintessentially temporal, and God is outside of space and time. That's it.
In the Bible, God says, I am holy. I am the Lord. Are these not propositions?
Those are statements.
Those are statements, yeah. I don't know how those...
Isn't a statement, proposition, synonyms? Aren't those synonyms for each other?
Like, again, he could just be asserting it as just some sort of weird brute fact, but also that is him communicating with us. That doesn't indicate that his thought in and of itself is propositional, right? Like, I can say that my thought, for the most part, beyond, with the exception of things that are sort of brute statements, that is propositional, right? But the fact that God can express himself propositionally doesn't mean that his thought is propositional.
So there's no identity of content in your belief between the mind of God and the mind of man. That's only analogical. It's impossible for it to be univocal.
I'm not saying that there's any, I don't have anything, like, I think that the idea of God is incoherent, as most Christians say it. So, like, this has nothing to do with my idea, but, like, I don't really see how you can say that you have access to, like, what is, if truth and knowledge are properties of proposition, are relate to, I shouldn't say because knowledge isn't a property, but if they relate to propositions, I don't see how you can make the leap that God's thought is propositional, right? Like, I don't think that the idea of having propositional thought, like, makes sense outside of time and space. Like, I've never seen an example of propositional thought that exists atemporally and aspatially.
So you believe that just because man cannot know the knowledge of God quantitatively, therefore he cannot know the knowledge of God quantitatively, correct?
That's not what I said at all. Like, what I'm saying is like, you need to demonstrate that's even a coherent idea, right? Like, that propositional thought can exist outside of space and time. I don't think it is.
Well, I think you make a good point too, Sam. If God is all-knowing...
So what you just said, isn't that a propositional thought?
Well, hang on. If God is all-knowing, to him, everything would be brute fact, would it not? There's nothing uncertain to God.
Well, Steve, yes, even more than that, how would he epistemically know about it? Like, how would that even work, right? Like, I can like a brute fact, I can explain how I know that the fact that I have experience right now is a brute fact, right? Like, I can explain it and I can roughly outline it, right? Like, how does God do that, right?
Wouldn't have
like,
a clue.
I think it's a deeper problem. Like, how is God even capable of thought? Like, I don't know how that. I've never heard an adequate answer to that. That's why I don't think that any sort of theistic conception makes sense.
To answer that question, you know, God used intelligence in everything He does. Okay. Steve, to answer your question too, that you said, if God knows everything, then He knows everything. I think God limited Himself to human being only. He can know everything, but he just limited himself.
So he dumbs himself down.
Human.
Oh wait, I got some music in the background. You playing music, Edgar?
He can't enter.
Edgar?
Oh, sorry, it's me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So you're saying he dumbs himself down?
Excuse me. Knowledge is objective. It's not subjective.
Knowledge.
I don't know what that has to do with what I said, though, right? Like, I don't know how you saying that demonstrates that somehow these thoughts are coherent, right? Like, I don't know what it means to have a thought outside of space and time. Like, to me, that's not a coherent concept. So that's what I'm curious about. Like,
you're curious about you not knowing that something in your mind, a thought, exists?
He's asking about God existing outside space and time, what that would mean.
Or if you're thinking it at all?
Do you accept the idea? Oh, I can break this down. Do you accept the idea that God exists outside of space and time?
I say He's omnipresent.
Okay. So
He exists both in space and in time. Or when you say space, you're talking about the eternal dimension, correct?
No, when I say space, that means something with spatial extension in, in the natural world.
If he's claiming omnipresence, then God exists in physical reality in some way.
Yeah.
How does an well, that's interesting, because I've never heard. I don't. That's interesting because most people don't claim that God exists within the natural world.
Sometimes people will phrase it in the way that it's his actions that are physically manifested in reality. So he still touches reality, which still makes him a physical entity, at least in some portion. They're just not defining him as wholly physical. He also contains an atemporal, a spatial component. But that's the problem, though, is the second you introduce the physical component, you're dealing with some kind of physics.
And you need a mechanism between the two. I mean, how does a non-temporal agent, something that's outside space and time, whatever that means, because I don't know what that means, but assuming that there is something that can exist outside space and time, how do you have a causal mechanism to have them do anything in our time frame? How does it work?
Can I ask you what your belief is? You said you were a young Earth creationist, right?
Yeah, Edgar is.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. In fact, I will. You can answer that question, but I have one other question to ask on the table real quick. You said something about knowledge not being objective. Well, wait a minute. If I say I know
it is objective.
Well, hang on. If I say I like vanilla ice cream more than chocolate, I know I like vanilla ice cream more than chocolate. How is it objective? That's my subjective feelings. But I know that to be true. That's an incorrigible belief. It's true by definition. By virtue, I believe it.
You think it, you opine it, but you don't know it.
No, that's a no. What? That's
but what are you defining as no then?
Yeah, of course I know it. I know I like vanilla better than chocolate. I don't like chocolate that much.
Oh wait, was that your original statement?
What?
I mean, what if on another day they're like, you know what? I want chocolate today. Then
I don't care what you want.
That what you just said is.
I like vanilla more than chocolate.
No.
I don't like chocolate.
He eat chocolate, only vanilla. Is that what you're saying?
Change his preference anytime, but he would still have a favorite.
Yeah.
Knowledge isn't meant to be. There's no.
Exactly. So his belief or his knowledge there is subjective. It's ever changing. It's not.
No, we did not address favorite. You selected temporal selection.
And you said knowledge is
select
objective.
Anything he wants, and he still chooses to have a favorite.
So it's well, he is saying it's subjective. Yeah.
You're saying it's subjective.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying
it's not subjective.
I'm saying that it is subjectively my belief, my knowledge that I like vanilla better than chocolate. There's no objective fact. It's not mind independent. It is mind dependent. It's dependent upon my mind.
I think it would be accurate to say that Steve has objective knowledge about a subjective thing.
No, I wouldn't say that
he
either.
doesn't. knowledge doesn't need to be objective, right? You can reliably produce something subjective, right? Like,
sure.
Here's the way that Steve would reliably produce something that's completely subjective, like his favorite flavor of ice cream. He goes out and he tastes ice cream. That's reliable.
Okay.
That's reliably produced, right? Would anyone argue otherwise?
No.
Can you give me one example of drawing knowledge from your senses?
That is drawing knowledge.
You ever
gave you an
example. Diaper?
So your definition of knowledge is what was it? What was your definition again?
Reliably produced. What is it? Reliably reproduced true belief.
Sure. RTV,
reliably produced true belief. All right. I'm just wondering.
But again, what does it matter about the definitions? We're giving you examples. You know, Sam said, go out and try ice cream. Okay, I like vanilla better. Boom, I've got knowledge now.
I mean, that seems like it's a reliable process for determining Steve's favorite flavor. I can't imagine a more reliable process.
It's my, I mean, what is somebody going to taste it for me and then tell me what I like?
Under precept, probably.
Under precept, yeah. Well, yeah, because, we're all denying.
Anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, this is why.
So I would ask you: Do you believe 1 + 1 is 2, or do you think 1 + 1 is 2, or do you know 1 + 1 is 2?
I know 1 + 1 is 2.
I know 1 + 1 is 2.
It's an analytical proposition by definition.
And how do you know that?
Because
the definition's laid out in mathematics.
Yeah.
The definition is laid out in mathematics. I ask you a question: how do you know 1 + 1 is 2? How do you know that you know?
And he just answered you.
By definition.
I don't think you're making sense.
He didn't answer the question. He just says it's because it's in mathematics.
You're just looking for a different answer, not accepting the one he gave.
Well, I'm curious. Hold on. Can you have? I guess
it's like me saying, "Oh, it's in the Bible."
No. Do you know what? Do you know what? Wait, no, it's not. It's not even close to that.
Wait.
I think I can explain my own. I can explain my own answer, guys. It's because what mathematics does is it reasons from definitions, right? This is what you do when you take higher level mathematics in university is you start with some basic definitions and then you reason from those. All truths contained within mathematics start from some, basic assumptions that go into that domain of mathematics, right? So I know 1 + 1 = 2 based upon the axioms of number theory.
Okay.
You don't know 1 + 1 = 2?
I'm not saying anything controversial. I'm saying something that is agreed upon by literally anyone who studied the topic.
Predestination.
Remember, I logically deduce everything from Scripture. So in 1 John 1:1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word." A synonym for word is reason, logic. In the beginning was the logic, so I can draw the laws of logic from Scripture.
So you're saying that if you didn't have the Bible,
what does that have to do with 2 + 2 = 4, or 1 + 1 = 2?
Absolutely nothing.
Did this guy just did he resort to presuppositional apologetics just now?
I think he just watched a video on it like 15 minutes ago and thinks it's actually still a good argument, which has never been an argument to begin with. But what does that have to do with 1 + 1 = 2? No, absolutely freaking nothing. I mean, if the Bible didn't exist, 1 + 1 still would equal 2 by the same definitions and reasoning.
By the same definition, I'm saying that you don't know. You think it.
By the same reasoning that Sam just gave, nothing has changed about his explanation. If you took the Bible out of the equation, nothing would be any different. 1 + 1 = 2 by the same axioms.
Yeah, it's like saying, how do I know that all unmarried men are bachelors? Right?
There you go.
It's by definition, right? Like we agree that the definition for a bachelor is an unmarried man.
All right, well, you guys have to go further into the core of what you guys are saying, because you guys are kind of going over the surface.
Okay, so what about our epistemology that we need to go deeper into?
Yeah, none of us have ever looked into this before. We've never had a preceptor run this same argument for the last 3 years.
I'm genuinely curious. If we're just
I'm just trying to figure out I know I'm talking to different people. I guess in general, I'm assuming you guys are all empiricists in some way or another, or rationalists?
Both.
So you're a combination.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone here is a pure rationalist or empiricist.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so
wait. Can I ask a question? What do you think a rational? Are you saying? How are you using the words rationalist and empiricist?
Coherentism, right? You guys can tell me. I forgot the definition of coherentism.
But okay, no. I didn't ask you how you're using coherentism. How are you using the term rationalism?
Rationalism? Okay, so someone that can draw knowledge from the laws of logic.
Okay, that's not... Okay, so traditionally when you talk about philosophy, you're talking about an ancient division that no longer really exists anymore in philosophy. Rationalists believe that you can get most knowledge just by reasoning about the world, whereas empiricists believe that you could get most knowledge by observation. But like that dichotomy doesn't really exist in modern philosophy anymore.
Okay, so explain to me your epistemology, and then we can kind of discuss from there. You already know my epistemology.
What about my epistemology? Like, that's a really vague question.
I'm asking you, what is your epistemology? How do you...
Again, that's an extremely vague question. Is there some aspect of epistemology that you want to talk about?
I'm asking you, what is your epistemology? What is your theory of knowledge?
I already told you that it's reliably produced belief. That's my definition of knowledge. Again, like, I'm asking you, like, again, like, do you want, like, it seems like you're just asking me to outline my entire philosophical system.
I can tell you my theory of knowledge is that knowledge can only come from the Word of God.
Okay.
But again, right, like, you need to be, like, again, this is the issue with precepts, right?
So I'm asking you where do you get knowledge? That's what I'm asking.
Where do I get knowledge? From a combination of reason as well as observation of the external world.
Hey, Sam, do you mind if I ask him a question?
Sure, go
on. When you're attempting to understand, or when you say knowledge comes from the Word of God, right?
Yeah.
How do you apprehend that knowledge?
God has to divinely reveal it to you as you hear Scripture, read Scripture, etc.
How do you know that you understand that revelation?
Faith.
So, is there any way that you could be mistaken about that revelation? Just like Christians disagree on the revelation, the nature of the revelation, right?
Are you asking me if it's possible? No.
The scriptures disagree with you.
Not only that,
you're talking about me, right? You're not talking about like all mankind, right?
No, actually, I was talking about all mankind. All mankind is incapable of transmitting anything from God in pure form.
Yeah, the original manuscripts were, as it says in the Bible,
manuscripts.
that they were given out.
As a flawed human vessel, inherent with Adamic sin, are incapable in any capacity of transmitting any of God's goodness in full form. You are incapable of doing so. Unless you're
bringing
without sin.
You're bringing up a straw man, sir. You're bringing up a straw man.
Absolutely not.
I mean, we can say, like, right, if we all agree that, like, human apprehension via sense data is always going to be flawed, it's not going to be perfect, which I think, like, everyone would agree to. How do you apprehend God? Do you apprehend God's revelations via, your senses? Because if you do, then inherently you're going to be flawed in your understanding of the revelation, right? Like, this is the part where at least, like,
it's a spiritual illumination. It's truth is a gift of God. It's not something that man can will himself into knowing.
How are you apprehending that, right? Like, how do you understand it? Because if you're understanding it via, like, I don't know how I can understand something absent of my senses, right? Like, I need my senses. I need my internal apparatus to understand things, right? So is there a way that you understand it absent of your senses? Because our senses are always imperfect.
So I would ask you what you mean by senses. You mean the 5 senses?
Oh,
yes, your sense data, your perception.
Your extrasensory.
Okay, so I'll ask you a question. When you say, or like, for example, when you think something, is this sense? Or when you try to read something, is that sense? Is that a sense? Are you gaining this information through your senses?
when I'm trying to read something.
Yeah, and then it goes into your mind.
When I see something, well, first off, I don't believe that there's a mind that, like, I don't know that there's a mind that exists outside of your senses, right? Like, apprehension seems to be somewhat sense-based.
So okay, I didn't know you didn't. So you believe there is no such thing as the mind, then?
How did you get that out of that?
No, I'm asking the question. I'm kind of confused what he's saying.
Clearly.
Well, there's a lot of philosophic traditions which hold that the mind and the intellect are part of the senses. I actually kind of hold to a position similar to that, but it still runs in the same issue that Sam was pointing out, right? Is that you have to use your senses to obtain that knowledge, regardless of whether or not the mind.
Like, I'm not, like, if you had said, Jim, like, if you had said, like, oh, you know what, like, I know that any apprehension of revelation that I receive, right, because of course it's coming from something external to you, right? If you were to say, oh, it's imperfect, but, like, I try to do the best through faith to apprehend God's revelation, I would accept that as an answer. It's completely coherent. I might not believe it, but it's coherent.
It's consistent too with the scripture.
When I mean word of God, I don't just mean obviously the written word. I obviously mean the word of God, Jesus Christ, because obviously there was no written word when Adam was alive. God directly spoke to him.
Again, like, how do you apprehend someone directly speaking to you absent of senses, right?
Well, that's what I'm asking. What are the 5 senses, and tell me which sense it is of apprehension.
Aren't just 5
there's
senses.
a lot more
Stop
senses than
saying
that. That's just.
All right, then tell me the sense that. What's the sense?
How are you apprehending God's message? That's the simple. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you inferring God's intentions?
What mechanism are you doing that? Are you getting the revelation from God, then inferring what He wants, or thinks?
The revelation is from God.
That doesn't
but
answer
how?
the question.
How does that happen? How do you? What is the process of receiving revelation?
It's direct to the mind.
Okay. How would you actually demonstrate that something went direct to your mind?
You want me to demonstrate it?
Yes.
In a scientific way?
I want you to explain why you're contradicting Scripture concerning wineskins.
How am I contradicting Scripture, sir?
You are a flawed, imperfect vessel, and you cannot be made anything. Anything you make will be flawed. There is nothing you can make that will not be flawed.
The Bible itself says that the Holy Ghost moved through these men to write the manuscripts.
Correct.
And they got things wrong.
They filled them with specific information, and they can't convey it because they're flawed beings.
They can't convey it.
There are
errors. Into a whole host. I mean, if you believe that, like, knowledge can be beamed directly into your head, you're open to a whole host of philosophical problems. I don't think you want to.
So what was the point of Christianity then? There was no point to it if knowledge is impossible.
That's
no one said that knowledge is impossible.
Yeah, we're not saying that knowledge is impossible.
I think what you're doing, Baptist, is you're taking your understanding of knowledge and your frameworks and you're applying it to everybody else. And you can't do that. We have a different. I mean, my theory of knowledge, reliabilism, has nothing to do with your reformed epistemological approach. Nothing at all. What you want to do is you form your knowledge is fine, but you can't apply it to anybody else. It's dishonest to do so.
So you guys still have to tell me that what sense. Okay, just tell me, because I'm ignorant about this. So explain to me what thinking is. Or if there is a sense in that.
But why are you changing the topic when we've asked you the same question several times?
I'm going back to the topic that we were originally talking about, and then you guys went to this.
No, I noticed we ask you something, you jump to something else, and we talk about that, and I ask you something about it, and then you jump back to something else.
Okay, so what was your question? You didn't even ask the question, so then why are you guys
Well, it was more of a statement. I'm like, do you understand that you can't take your theory of knowledge and apply it to us? Do you get that?
I get that, yeah.
Okay, then why are you bothering with presuppositionalism then?
So why do I care?
Why are you bothering with presuppositionalism? There's no point to it. It doesn't do anything for anyone. It's a mind game. That's all it is. It's not even an argument.
It's axiomatic. Every philosophical worldview has an axiomatic starting point?
Not necessarily. Coherentism doesn't.
Okay, so what's the axiomatic starting point for coherentism? And if there isn't,
I'm not a coherentist. Go ask.
There isn't one.
There isn't one. But go ask. Want to learn about coherentism? Ask Sokka. I'm a foundationist, and I think Sam might be too.
Well, some of us are found-herentism.
I'm practicing.
Found-herentism, yeah.
I would like to be a found-heretist, but I haven't really been able to wrap my head around it yet.
So you deny that every worldview has an axiomatic starting point?
Well, we just explained that.
I mean, it's self-evident by the point that coherence doesn't have an axiomatic starting point.
Right.
So you cannot explain coherentism or let alone prove it to anyone if you don't have it.
Are you familiar with the Munchausen trilemma?
No.
Anytime you're debating in epistemology, there are 3 different branches that occur. There's circular reasoning, or the appearance of circular reasoning. There's what appears to be arbitrary axiomatic starting points, and then there's infinite regress. And anytime you fall down one of those 3 branches, there's a specific kind of epistemology that answers it.
Right. And foundationalists take the axiomatic approach on the Munchausen trilemma. And I'm fine with that.
Presuppositionalists. Do you disagree?
I didn't say empiricist. I said foundationalists take the axiomatic horn of the Munchausen trilemma.
Okay. So can you explain that to me?
Sure. I start with properly basic beliefs that I have to make assumptions about the universe before I can form any other knowledge from it, such as the universe exists. I have to take that as a assumption. That is a properly basic belief.
That's your presupposition, right?
That's my presupposition, yes.
Okay, so then why are you guys against me? All you guys are presuppositionalists.
We are not presuppositionists.
Only people who are foundationalists.
Foundationalism is not presuppositionalism. Presupposition apologetics is a very...
are presuppositionalists by definition.
No, they're not. Listen to me carefully.
They presume the reliability of their senses.
Okay, listen to me very carefully. Presuppositionalists are a very specific type of apologetics. Okay, so you're a presuppositionist apologetist. That is part of Reformed epistemology, or various types of it. A foundationalist, just because you have precepts, does not make you a presuppositionalist.
I'm saying the definition of the word. I'm not saying presuppositional apologetics. Obviously, that's Christian.
Yes. Well, then I don't want to be I don't want to be accused of equivocation. I'm using presuppositionist as a very specific way. Why change the way we're using it?
Because you guys are like, oh, he's a presuppositionalist. Look in the mirror. All you guys are presuppositionalists.
No, we're not. Again, I just gave you the way we're using the word.
Okay, maybe we need to. Okay, so
I'm not talking about Christian.
Having a presupposition is not the issue. The presuppositional apologetics is the issue. Is that clear?
And let's assume again, whatever.
No, if you want to call presuppositionalist,
the fact that I have presuppositions, whatever you want to call it, why does that matter? That is our framework. That's my framework.
And that's my point. You guys just contradicted yourselves. You guys say, oh, there is no axiomatic starting point.
In coherentism. I'm not a coherentist.
Okay, I think we just literally explained this. If you are a foundationalist, you have axiomatic starting points. If you are a I just fucking forgot it. If you are a coherentist, you do not. Yeah, if you are a coherentist, you do not have those presuppositions. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of different theories of knowledge. People, whatever works for them. As a matter of fact, there's no one size fits all. Not any one of them is perfect. They all have defeaters to them in certain ways.
Yeah, we're not presuppositionalists. We don't say we're correct in virtue of our presuppositions. So this isn't what you're doing isn't the same as what any other person in the room is doing.
I am curious about something though, to draw a distinction between what foundation was doing and what presuppositional apologetics kind of does. Can you re-examine one of those axioms as a presuppositional apologetic adherent?
Yeah. My axiom is the Bible is the Word of God.
Can you change that?
No.
Okay, there's the issue. You can always challenge an axiom.
And coherentists. Yeah, and coherentists change their web of things quite frequently. When they gather new information, they can throw away not relevant information anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the things that in a conversation with somebody, we were kind of drawing that distinction. There are some glaring issues with what is presumed and presuppositional apologetics that you usually can't touch it. Like, things are sacrosanct. They're static. When you actually look into how you acquire knowledge, you tend to revise different things, and that's something that not many people in any almost any apologetic brand will do, and it's interesting. But just simply saying, "Oh, you guys are presuppositionalists too," that statement isn't accurate, because just like I demonstrated here, you can't revise anything,
and it's not parsimonious either, because everybody has to look at the universe. And I believe, in my epistemic viewpoint, that we all have to do that axiomatically. There's no way to prove reality is real. If somebody disagrees with me, that's fine. In their worldview, they can believe what they want. But in mine, I don't see how anybody can show reality to be real in any kind of Cartesian certainty. So I assume it. Now, you are adding a newer thing. You are adding something that doesn't require to exist with everybody. That's the concept of this Christian deity that you have. That's not a properly basic belief. Even Plantinga even said it's not a properly basic belief. He said it could be a basic belief, but it's not a properly basic belief because it's not ubiquitous to everybody. Not everybody has to have that in order to have a framework of knowledge. That's why it's not parsimonious.
So you don't believe in universalism, right?
Well, if I was to believe in a deity,
you're a relativist, sure.
Well, universalism is something different. If I believe in deity, I'm fine with universalism for it. But what was your other question?
Oh, no, I was just asking, you don't believe in, I'm asking you a question, so you don't believe in universalism?
I'm fine with universalism. If God exists, but I don't believe per se in it because I don't have a God belief.
No, I see. Okay, so you don't believe it, right?
I lack a belief in universalism.
That facts are universal, they're not relative.
Oh, you're talking about...
they're objective, not relative.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're talking... I'm talking about universalism is that everybody's saved.
That's not what universalism...
No,
yeah, maybe I got it wrong.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah, universalism is that everybody gets saved at the end, is it not?
He's using a different...
No, I'm not.
Wait, am I wrong or are you wrong, Sam?
Do you believe... He's asking, do you believe that there are objective truths?
Okay,
right?
Okay.
Like, he's not... It's
okay,
just not...
But universalism is what I said it was, is it not? I'm not looking anything it up, but I mean... I thought universalism is that...
he's just using the term incorrectly.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
okay.
You're right. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So do I think there's objective truth? Possible. I mean, Sam Harris. I didn't finish the book, The Moral Landscape.
Math is objective.
Math is objective truth. Okay. Yeah.
Well, unless your personal opinion of the axioms changes the truth of things, but the truth of a proposition in mathematics is dependent on the definitions, right? It's not dependent on you as a person.
It's mind independent.
Math is subjective.
No, the fuck it's not.
How the hell is math subjective?
The reason you came with the mathematical model you have now is because you see the universe act in a certain way. If it acted different, your mathematical model...
That's not what subjective and objective means.
But that's related to how I apprehend math. That's not related, or why I use math. It's not related to the truths contained within math.
Once again, however you see the universe work, that's a subjective interplay between you and the universe. However you see it work is how you would create your math to model the universe.
That's not...
Okay, I'm going to repeat myself because I think that was lost on you. The reason I choose the mathematical models is different from whether the truths contingent on those models are objective.
Exactly.
The only reason...
The truth depends on the axioms of mathematics. That doesn't depend on why I choose a mathematical system. If I assume Euclidean geometry, even though Euclid's axioms are not complete, there are still truths if I assume those axioms.
Okay, so you're just saying that if you make a math that doesn't correlate with us at all, it's true because of your axioms? Okay, so you can make up a system. Okay,
that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Wix, you have a weird way of taking what somebody says and completely changing it to where it's not anything close to what they said. Look, if you have these axioms and you take these axioms, then it follows these things are true. They're objectively true.
The axioms for mathematics is looking at the external world. You got 1 + 1 = 2 by looking at how the external world is. It wasn't the other way around.
That has nothing to do with the truth of the proposition. Right?
Exactly. I don't see the correlation.
You're confusing something very basic here, right? Which is the truth of a proposition versus how you chose that system, right? Like,
okay, well, you could make up a system, and even if it doesn't model the outside universe, okay, the HT agree.
Okay.
You could make a system with certain rules that has nothing to do with anything, but if the system falls within its own rules, okay.
Okay, so HT, you agree if you accept mathematical axioms, right? You agree that 1 + 1 = 2. Do you not agree that's a true statement?
Within that model that's used, yes.
Okay. Does it matter? Is it any way dependent upon mind if that statement's true or false? Is it mind dependent or mind independent?
Well, no. It's all if it's what you guys are talking about, a system made from the mind, then it's mind dependent because it's just a mental construct.
That's not mind dependent though. Like again, this is the genetic fallacy. You're saying that something's truth depends on where it comes from.
And it doesn't.
And you're just applying that to objectivity. That's not how objectivity works.
Let's say some kind of weird animal does not relate to the universe. Some mathematician just made it up. You're saying that that's mind independent?
The axioms themselves are mind independent.
Disagree to disagree. Where do those axioms lie? Where do they lie? What are they made of? What are you talking about?
I'm definitionally correct, right? So like, we can't agree to disagree here, right? Like, you're confusing the source of whatever axiomatic, insight. You're confusing the source of the insight with the insight itself.
So you're saying that exists, that mathematical theoretical formulation, let's say string zero, let's say string theory, for example, let's say it's not the true mathematical model of how the universe works. You're saying that absent a mind, that thing somehow exists on its own or something to that effect.
I don't believe that mathematical formulas exist. I'm a nominalist, so no.
Okay, then we'll just agree there because that's the HT believes the same thing.
Great.
Like, I don't know how it's that complicated I don't know how it's very complicated. The idea that like where something comes from is not the equivalent to its actual content, right? This is a fallacy known as the genetic fallacy, right? Like Hitler could have had the greatest idea on the planet. It doesn't invalidate it just because Hitler had the idea.
Actually, the HT agrees, but what you were saying is that you don't believe that mathematical formulations do not exist outside of the mind. Okay, the HT agrees.
No, I don't believe that mathematical formulations exist at all.
Oh,
they're
perfect.
Abstractions.
Yeah, abstract.
Perfect. From the mind. Oh, perfect. Or okay, perfect. We agree. Wow, the HT never thought he'd agree with Sam.
Well,
I'm not convinced that you actually understand what I'm saying, though. Like, that's the issue. Like, does that make sense to everyone else?
Yeah, I know.
That,
you're a novelist.
The apprehension of axioms is different, right? Like, than where the axioms come from.
Right. That's right.
This is a genetic fallacy.
Yeah, the propositions could be true or false, completely irrelevant of where those things came from. They're two different things. So if the axiom, we're just saying that if you accept those axioms, the 1 + 1 = 2 has to be true regardless of what you think. It's mind independent at that point. It always be the case.
Yeah, go ahead, Logic. Sorry to interrupt.
That's cool. Is rationalism empirical?
Is rationalism empirical?
In what sense are you using the word rationalism?
Whatever year you guys use the word rationalism. However you guys use it.
Well, rationalism
I'm asking you how you're using it.
Why are you asking me how I'm using it?
Because you asked the goddamn question. Like,
somebody should know.
Yeah.
Okay, rationalism. According to the laws of logic,
either share the same terms or it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, we know what I'm like. Right. You say the word rationalism to me, I take it one way. You're asking a question.
Like drawing.
When you ask,
drawing knowledge from the laws of logic.
When you ask a vague ass question, and I don't know what you mean, that's why I ask, what do you mean by that?
Okay, rationalism, drawing knowledge from the laws of logic?
No, I don't.
As its framework.
I don't think. I don't know why you're using rationalism in relationship to the laws of logic. It's just rationalism. You place a higher standard on knowledge and belief than you do something like emotion.
Even that's not correct, Steve.
Okay, so obviously I don't know.
It has to do with the source. You can think about it. It's an a posteriori, a priori dichotomy, right? And so if you believe that a posteriori is more primary, then you're an empiricist. Just believe that a priori understanding is more primary, then you'd be a rationalist.
Yeah, that's not how I define. I take it as it's more rational than it's more based upon your reasoning than empiricism.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's wrong. No, it's fine.
Upon how it's used. I'm basing this on how philosophy would be defined.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Like this is based upon the history of the tradition, and so is that what definition this person's trying to use? Like I'm confused.
I'm fine with either one. Your definition's fine.
I'll give you the definition. I didn't look into the definition before I asked the question, so I'm going to look it up. Hold on.
I'm just making it more simple. Reason over experience. That's it. Reason.
Well, regardless, I'm curious if you didn't understand the definition of the term, then how did you form the question?
No, I just had a general idea of rationalism. I don't know the actual definition of what rationalism is so I have to look it up.
Script. I put it in a side chat for you already.
No, Wolf, I got that, but that's the thing, and I have to agree with to click your name, Carrie here, because it kind of seems like a lot of the stuff that we're hearing just kind of comes from a script.
Are you running? Do you have like note cards and you're just reading questions off a note card?
No, I'm here at the corner of Harvard and Brand in California.
But that doesn't answer my question. Are you reading off?
Oh no, I don't have any note cards. Okay. I'm just chilling.
Okay.
It seems like it's when I guess just in my years of being on YouTube, every time I come across a precept, there's a host of questions or statements that are made, and they're just kind of drummed out one after another with no real connection. And so it's like, well, it's either the pre-sufferer is simply trying to find some type of, I guess, conundrum or philosophical dead point to where they can capitalize on the conversation, and it's less of a back and forth. But I'm not necessarily saying that you're doing that, but that's why it makes me wonder if you don't really have a strong grasp of what these terms mean.
All right, okay, fine. You can accuse me of that. Let me read you what rationalism is. I didn't know the actual definition, so let me read it to you.
Okay.
A belief or theory that opinions and actions should be based on reason and knowledge rather than on religious belief or emotional response.
And that's kind of what I go by. Yeah, that's what I go by.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, we have different definitions, and you can't answer
kind of what I said earlier.
If we can't answer your question with that definition, then
okay, fine. Philosophy. I'll give you another definition. The theory that reason rather than experience is the foundation of certainty and knowledge.
Yeah, rationalism over experience. Yeah, evidentialism. Not evidentialism. I'm sorry. Empiricism.
That's the philosophical definition, the one I just read.
Yeah. But you had asked.
So how does that relate?
Go ahead.
Unless you want me to give you the definition of reason, I'll go ahead.
No, that's fine.
No, how does this relate to the question? That's what I'm really curious about.
I asked you a question. Is rationalism empirical?
That to me doesn't make any sense.
That definition, part of it, yeah.
So I'm just asking, is the question is the question a contradiction? Is it a paradox?
Do you believe that? Well, I mean, I have to ask. Are you asking if the system itself is empirical, or if empirical knowledge is incorporated into it?
Yeah, you're right. That second part that you just said.
Empirical knowledge is incorporated. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Sure.
All right, yeah, that was my question.
But where are you going with it, though? I don't.
No, I just wanted to.
These are just taking weird detours.
Well, I'm gathering information here. I'm learning.
Okay.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, Steve, I think you're being unfair. It's just he's getting a little confused with some of the terms. No, I'm not saying confused as some insult. It's just confusing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I am asking, are they leading towards something? I mean, what's the end game? Again, I'm
trying to get to the end game, but you guys keep on diverting because none of you want to give your axiomatic starting points. Only
whoa! That's not true.
The universe.
I just gave you my. I gave you.
He presupposes
I gave you my axiomatic starting point. I gave you one of 3 ones I take.
No. I just said everyone else here hasn't done it. You have done it. You said I presuppose
Did you ask
that
them?
the universe exists.
Hold on, wait. We went over that. We went over that earlier. Not all of us are foundationalists.
I asked them, but they didn't want to give it.
Okay, wait, no. If you're not a foundationalist, how are we supposed to give you an axiom we don't have?
I might be the only foundationalist in the room here.
Okay, so then why can't you tell me? Okay, fine. Tell me what you believe in.
Okay, I want to concentrate on that because you were convinced that everyone has an axiomatic starting point. Where did you get that idea from?
That's my point. Like you cannot. How are you going to start off your conversation without an axiomatic starting point?
You don't have to have one.
Right. You can be a coherentist.
Or a foundherentist.
Okay, so, alright, fine. Go ahead and tell me.
You can be an infinitist too, but I think that you have to, I think you have to have axioms there. Because it's causal chains.
It may be helpful if we kind of explain coherentism a bit better, because it's like, okay, how about this, Mr. I don't know, predestination? How do you say your name?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna call you Pre. All right, so if you have a belief, let's say you believe the best vacuum cleaners in the world are like Kirby vacuum cleaners. Is that belief attached to any other belief, or is it alone by itself, just floating around in your head?
You're asking me a question.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me a question? I have to ask you to explain what you believe.
I'm trying to be very clear.
You're trying to bring up flaws in my epistemology.
No, he's not.
I asked you, what do you believe?
He's trying to give you an example. He's trying to explain it to you by asking you a question and then working with that.
Okay, well, ask the question again.
Okay, so I'll do it myself.
Don't let it be so long. Make it a short, simple question.
Let me just cut to the chase. Okay, so there's no belief in your head that's not attached to anything else. No, beliefs don't exist in a vacuum, right? They're always attached to another belief. If you are a coherentist, you believe there's like a web. There's a web of beliefs and they all connect kind of to one another, rather than having a foundation that all the other beliefs are connected to. Does that make sense?
It's like a crossword puzzle. There's no foundational truth in a crossword puzzle.
Right.
Does that make sense? To be honest, not knowing your definitions of particular words that you just said, then I cannot know exactly what you say.
What definition do you need expanding upon?
There was different words. One of the words was sorry, what do you call it? ADD.
Foundationalist?
Yeah, I mean, again, like...
Like, I think, okay, just give me the definition of a foundationalist, like what that is.
Wait a second.
Go ahead.
Like, again, like...
Unless your definition is different.
Seriously, dude? Seriously?
We're looking into the foundationalist...
No. Seriously, you're going to interrupt again?
Take a breath and let Sam talk. Take a breath and let Sam talk.
Like... Again, like, do you not see how this is frustrating, where we get off on this trail and then you forget exactly what you're asking, and then so we don't know, right? We don't know whether our answer is sufficient or not.
Well, I answered your question. You asked me if you understand what I'm saying, and I said no, I did not understand what you said.
And then I asked, like, what aspect of what he said doesn't make sense, right? And then you don't know, right? Like, dude, you're not, like, that kind of implies you're not paying attention to what he's saying.
Okay, so let me go ahead and I have ADD, so I have to reanalyze the conversation in my head, and then I'll get back to you. And because while I was hearing what you were saying, some of it didn't connect and it didn't make sense, so I'll have to go back to which part.
You're in Cali, refresh, get a J, chill out for a minute, and then listen. Okay?
Don't get a J, then you end up like listening all the time.
So I just have, before I do that, is there a problem with you guys just giving me the definition of what that is?
Of what?
What is?
Foundationalism.
I just put in the freaking...
He's on his phone. He's on his phone. Okay, foundationalism is the theory of epistemology that beliefs can be justified based on basic or foundational beliefs.
Such as the case that I believe the universe exists, I believe we can observe the universe and acquire knowledge from that, and I believe that predictive modeling that has more utility is more useful than predictive modeling that has none.
So you presuppose the universe exists.
Yes.
So do you know the universe exists?
Yes, in my framework, I know the universe exists because I'm presupposing it.
Okay. That was my question. Because I'm on my phone, so I can't Google it right now.
That's fine. That's fine.
And I'm walking.
That's okay. So the issue here is that's a foundationalist. Not everyone here is a foundationalist.
A coherentist is coming into the room, by the way.
So okay, cool. Oh, there's Sokka.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am a foundherentist. I do have some presuppositions, but it's a combination of foundationalism and coherentism. And Sokka here can probably explain coherentism a lot better than I can.
Yo, what's up?
Okay. Take the floor, Sokka.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure to put on me when I come into the room. Awesome. Cool. Who am I talking to? I'm assuming
the guy with the logic icon.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So coherentism. Do you have any questions off the start? Like, do you have a basic idea of it, or do you want me to just kind of explain it?
Start from scratch.
Okay. Different epistemic frameworks when you deal with how can you know things. Pretty much comes down to, in my opinion, asking the question is, what is it when you're differentiating between these positions? What does it mean to justify a belief? So within foundationalism, for example, foundationalism is built on this model that you justify a belief, to justify a belief, to say that a belief is knowledge, is to say that it's predicated on a previous piece of knowledge that you have, and you can follow this down into a linear path until you get to be justified by previous knowledge. We'll use these as foundational beliefs or properly basic beliefs, whatever we want to describe them that way. That runs into some problems, obviously, but that's kind of like the basic idea is that when somebody asks a foundationalist, what does it mean to justify a belief? What they're going to say is they are going to rely on previous knowledge in order to get to that point, compared to coherentism. Now, coherentism, when you ask somebody, what does it mean to justify a belief in a coherentist system, the justification for the system is the system itself, and that is to say that providing that all the beliefs that you hold cohere with each other in a way that you don't possess any type of internal contradictions within your set of beliefs, is that you can say that the beliefs are therefore justified. So because of that, because in the coherentist system now, what we mean when we talk about justifying a belief is different. It's just, it's good to point out first off that, okay, if you want to know how can I know something.
Hold on.
Hello?
Okay.
Sorry about that. I was asking a question. So your system is axiomatic? It's self-evident?
Sorry, what was that?
No, apologies for cutting you off. I know you're going to keep going. Just a quick question. Your system is axiomatic, correct?
No, my system's not axiomatic.
But you said didn't you say something about your system being self-evident?
Yeah, but axiomatic implies a starting point. There is no starting point in my system. There is no properly basic beliefs. There's no foundational beliefs. Every single belief that I have, none of them are taken on, prior to another belief that I have. They support each other within the net. That doesn't say that all the beliefs cohere with each other, but none of them are specifically held as axioms in of themselves. Now, I mean, the entire system itself, like as a whole, when you say it's axiomatic, well, I mean, like axiomatic to what?
To the system itself.
So you're saying that my system is axiomatic to the system?
No, I'm talking about your statement when you said the system is axiomatic, correct? Or
yeah,
the system is self-evident?
Yeah, and I'm asking. No, I never said self-evident. I never said.
Or you presuppose, right, that the system is.
I don't presuppose anything. So.
All right, keep going. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. No. So within the coherentist viewpoint, if somebody was to ask me, how do I know something? Depending on what their definition of knowledge is. If you were going to use the justified true belief, for example, definition of knowledge, or even if you want to use a reliability, it doesn't really matter. The point is that what provides me the justification for a belief to be considered knowledge within a coherentist system is the fact that all my beliefs cohere with each other. It's the coherency of the system is the justification of itself.
Okay, Okay, so I'll just ask you, what is this? What is that system, or what is this system?
Coherentism.
Okay, and okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
There you go. Now again, let me reiterate that there's no. I don't think there's one true correct system. I think it's whatever works for you.
Well, it's not. It's not just that. It's not just that whatever works for you. I believe that this is. My problem with foundationalism is it doesn't actually map how people really think. You know, nobody starts off with one belief and then tries to build everything on top of that. You know, with foundationalism, it's always ad hoc reasoning. You take a look at what I think that I know, and then you work back to get to the point where you realize that you can't justify anything further.
I don't think it's not ad hoc. I'm post hoc maybe.
Post hoc. Post hoc. Yeah, so it's just this post hoc where you have to work back and be like, okay, well, I think I know this, but in order for me to know this, what is the justification for this? And it's got to be put on prior knowledge, and you go all the way back until you get to this point where just like, oh, okay, well, hey, there's my assumption. And we don't actually operate this. Nobody can think of what their first thought was.
It's top down.
And so the way that we really work is that you have a collection of beliefs. Okay, you have this net of beliefs, and you take on new beliefs, and you jettison beliefs when they're no longer relevant to the system, or that you have enough other beliefs that will contradict with that one and show that that belief is not justified to hold, or for whatever reason. But we actually do think this way. We don't. When we do take on new knowledge, when we do involuntarily or voluntarily, whichever way you want to put it, take on beliefs, the very first thing to show that that belief is effective is how well it coheres with other beliefs that you have. So if you have beliefs about the color red, you might have an entire net of beliefs of what does it mean for this concept of redness, and then you can't just bring on something and be like, okay, well, I'm going to change that. This is my new belief on what red is. If it doesn't cohere with anything else, it just doesn't fit, and you jettison it. You have to shape your other beliefs so that everything does cohere together, and that's how we differentiate between things that
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with that. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but I don't have an issue with it being a top-down approach. I don't know. I see the problem I have with coherentism is, one, I think it kind of is circular, and two, if you're a Dostastic and voluntarist, you don't really have the ability to just say, okay, I would choose to believe this or not, right?
Okay.
So I mean, again, it's not a complaint about any coherentism. I don't think there's one set theory that works completely. I think they're all going to be whatever you want works for best for you, and I mean that. But there's no such thing as a perfect epistemological system, except for the Reformed epistemologists that want to do this precept. They think their system is absolutely perfect because they cannot ever be wrong, and that to me is a flawed system to begin with, because they cannot even imagine that their view of God or whatever is incorrect. That to me is not a way to form a knowledge base.
So can your view of the universe existing be incorrect?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What did you just say?
Could your view of the universe be incorrect?
I mean, I can't be wrong that it exists. The universe exists, but if there's more to it than that, I don't know. I do kind of.
And how do you know you can't be wrong?
Okay, wait, hold on a second. Let me stop you right there for a second. Is that you seem to be confusing that every single epistemic framework somehow grants infallibility. Do you believe that right now you have? Let me guess, as a presuppositional apologist, you subscribe to some type of a revelational epistemology, correct?
Yeah, I'm a Clarkian scripturalist.
Great. Are you infallible?
Am I, as a human being, infallible? No.
Okay, so great. So even within your own epistemic framework based on revelation from God, you acknowledge the infallibility of your own, the own viewpoint you have. And so why is it?
No, I don't.
Okay, you just admitted that
the infallibility is within the divine revelation.
But it doesn't matter, okay? Because unless every single piece of knowledge that you have, every single belief, every single thing and sensory input that you have is being guided directly through this revelation. See, if it was, you're right.
Dude, when you say do you believe you're fallible, are you saying do you believe you're perfect? Is that what you're saying?
No,
fallible. Can you be wrong about something?
Can you have a knowledge that's incorrect?
Yes. Can you be wrong about anything that you think that you know?
You're asking me a very general question. Yeah, I could be wrong about something that I think that I believe that is wrong.
That's great. So just stop there. So we understand now that even within your system, that there is an aspect that through whatever reason, you still can be fallible. So if you try to levy a challenge against myself or on my view, or Steve on his view, about whether he can be wrong about something that he does know, what is the fact that we are fallible have anything to do with the efficiency of the system, when your own system can't guarantee you infallibility in every single aspect of your life?
My system comes from...
That wasn't the question. The question is, what is the usefulness of challenging the fallibility of another person's system when you can't grant infallibility within your very own model?
And we recognize that we can be infallible.
You didn't ask me that question originally. You asked me if I was infallible.
No, and then I asked you that question 30
You equivocated on the word infallible, I think.
No, I asked you that question 30 seconds ago, and then you started to provide a response. How?
Because when I said
can your
whatever.
Can your knowledge be infallible?
But can you answer the question?
Yeah.
Why are you asking me about my knowledge? My knowledge is derived from Scripture alone.
That doesn't mean anything. We're asking you how reliable is it? If you're going to challenge somebody else's epistemology, what makes yours different?
It's axiomatic. It's self-evident.
That doesn't mean
I don't use the word reliable.
Okay, so
I can say that my system is axiomatically correct. Okay, done. I win the debate.
There we go.
And
okay.
Somebody to say their God has told them that their system is correct.
That's like me criticizing my neighbor's garage for being dirty while mine is filled with shit.
I mean, Wolf's a Satanist. He can just say, "Hey, Satan has told me that this is true. Ergo, it must be true."
That's why I'm asking you if you guys can show. I'm a precept, right? So how can you guys show me from your senses how you can draw knowledge from that?
Why are we going back to senses?
And all you're saying is, oh no, we can't draw absolute perfect knowledge. We can only draw conjectural knowledge.
I'm not saying either.
Or quote unquote reliably justified.
So hold on. Wolf, 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so the question we already put out there, okay, is that you can be wrong about certain things within your worldview, correct? You're fallible. You've acknowledged this, right?
I wasn't asking. Okay, fine. Okay, all right. Because when I'm thinking, you ask me, "Are you fallible?" I'm thinking in my head, "Am I perfect?" But obviously, what you're asking is, your question is extremely general. You need to be more specific on your question. You have to ask.
It's a very general question.
You asked me, "Are you infallible?" And then from there, you went on to discredit what I was saying. But your question should have been, is your epistemological system infallible? That's what you should ask me.
No. I'm asking about your capability. So, okay, at this point,
you're talking about me as a person. You're not talking about where my knowledge comes from.
Well, I am, because when I ask questions about whether you could be wrong about stuff that you know, okay, I'm asking about the characteristics of you as a person based on your epistemic framework that you do have. Okay, if you really want me to break it down into like 2 sub-questions, it doesn't really matter, because they both come to addressing the same point. And that
okay, so rephrase your question, be more specific, and I'll answer.
Okay, it's a very general question. Can you be wrong about things that you think that you know?
That's not the right question to ask, dude. Like I could look.
I'm sorry.
That's not the right question. There's talking. Yeah, he doesn't like that question. Can't ask that one.
Can you be wrong about things?
Because it's the wrong question to ask, dude.
No, it's not the wrong question to ask. It is a very straightforward question.
Okay, I'll ask you the same question. Obviously, we both would say yes.
Yes, great, awesome. So
what does that have to do with where my epistemology is coming from?
Because you know better than ours.
Because when you levy a challenge now to somebody else, because we acknowledge that there is problems within the system, that like when we talk about things that we know, is we're not relying on epistemic certainty. Okay, we don't make certainty a requirement for having to know anything, because in my worldview, and Steve's worldview, and Sam's, yours, whose ever, is that certainty for the vast majority of the things that we claim as knowledge is not required. Okay, and because certainty is not required for these things, we can know things without being certain about whether we do know them. Okay, so at this point in time, so like if you ask general questions like about where we can be wrong.
Well, you said it yourself. Justified belief, right?
Justified belief, yeah, and my justification for my belief is the coherentism of the system. So, in which case, I'm justified to say that I know everything, and I might be wrong about a lot of the stuff that I think that I know.
So the framework of the system and coherentism is the laws of logic, correct?
No.
What is this fascination you have with the laws of logic? Nobody else has mentioned the laws of logic but you.
Yeah,
no, I'm asking him a question. I don't know what is the framework for his system is.
Well, you're assuming at that point in time that I have to take them on as a presupposition. But like I said, my system doesn't have anything that I start with, as presuppositions. My belief in the validity of logic is based on the fact that it's coherent with the system that I have.
And I could take the laws of logic axiomatically and unjustified, and I'm okay with that. Why do you have to have a justification for? I mean, why do you have to have an accountability? I should say. I'd have a justification for why to believe them, but
it could be one of the things within properly basic beliefs is there's certain beliefs out there that are self-evident beliefs that don't need justification, but
they're brute facts.
Just that are undeniable. They exist as just basically brute facts. Yeah. Now, but here's the problem. Okay, and this is what we can try to get to here is what is your problem? What is your challenge to the system? Are you saying that your system is the only system that can guarantee what?
Truth.
Infallibility.
Okay, and can you demonstrate this?
Can I prove it? No.
Okay, great. So everybody has different epistemic frameworks. Yours thinks yours provides truth. I think mine provides truth. I think that you're wrong.
And I think that you're wrong when you say that you don't have a presupposition about your own system.
I don't have a presupposition.
Well, coherentism, it doesn't work that way.
It is. You need to understand like the roadmap here for beliefs. Okay, and I think that this is one of the problems that presuppositions have when they realize that holy shit, foundationalism isn't the only thing out there. It's not the only game in town. When we do you know what the Munchausen trilemma is?
You should. We just explained it to him. We just literally explained it to him about an hour ago.
Okay, so let me. If I ask Steve what does it mean to justify knowledge, he's going to say that his knowledge claims are going to be predicated on previous knowledge claims until he gets down to whatever his properly basic beliefs are. If you ask me, what does it mean to justify a belief? I'm going to say that I justify my beliefs based on the coherency of the system of beliefs that I do have. That all my beliefs are coherent and there's no internal contradictions within my my epistemic framework. Now, let me ask you a question.
There are none. You say it. All right.
What does it mean to justify a belief in your epistemic framework?
What does it mean to justify a belief?
Yes. Yeah. What are the qualities that go into a belief that make it justified? If I can put it that way.
What are the qualities? I don't know if I understand your question.
Do you know what hang on. He may not know what do you know what he's probably going to say that it comports with the mind of God, but do you know what a justificatory condition is for a belief? Do you know what it means to justify your belief? Why you hold a particular belief? Are you warranted to have that belief?
Yeah. You're asking me why? Oh, okay, because
or what's the warrant for your justification is a better way of expressing it. But yeah, are you justified to hold a particular belief?
Yeah, my scripture
so your justification is the Bible.
My foundation is 2 Timothy 3:16. Awesome. All scripture is given by inspiration of God. That's
great.
That's where I draw my.
Yeah. Where are your car keys right now?
Car keys. I'm in my car actually. Or yeah. In the car. They're right here next to my cup holder.
Okay, so where's the part in scripture that tells you where to know where your car keys are?
How you justify by 2 Timothy by knowing where your car keys are?
So you guys are assuming that I cannot logically deduce from
we're not
scripture?
assuming anything. We're asking you a question.
Hold on. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like I said, so when you want me to justify any belief whatsoever, it doesn't matter what the belief is. I got to go back and take a look at the coherency of the system, like that it coheres with the other beliefs that I have. Like I said, with a foundationalist, you'd have to go back to a previous belief. So with you, okay. With the keys, where you know.
I believe it, yeah.
Where you know your car keys are. That you have to have a justification for the belief that you know where they are. And I'm assuming that the location of your car keys isn't written into 2 Timothy. So you probably have to predicate this on some other type of belief that you have beforehand, right?
Beforehand, some kind of belief. It was your worldview, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to know what are the beliefs that when you want to justify that belief, that you just gave me scripture, 2 Timothy, but like I said, I can go to 2 Timothy. I don't see anything about your car keys there, so I don't see how you're drawing.
Okay, yeah. So I think I opine that these car keys are next to my cup holder.
Okay.
I believe it. I don't.
But why are you justified to believe that?
You don't know it. Well, no, he doesn't know it. He doesn't. That's fine. He doesn't. He
doesn't know it.
Wait.
You're looking at your keys next to your cup holder, and you don't know that's where they are. You just believe it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because that's really silly.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not silly.
It's silly. It's not. That's silly.
It's silly only in the sense that what he has to do now is he has to take this viewpoint where he realizes that he's going to put himself in a position of a foundationalist right away. If he has to say that knowledge of his keys is going to be predicated on a previous piece of knowledge that he has, leading back to the axiomatic belief that God has revealed certain things through him, he's just put himself in the same boat as that he's been trying to levy against you for the last hour as a foundationalist. Right. So what he's got to do instead is take this radical skeptical approach where he can't know anything except for the things that are directly revealed by God.
Which is silly. Hyperskepticism, or the skeptical approach that you have no knowledge of anything unless it's justified by Scripture, to me is absolutely nonsensical.
Well, but it's also the biggest problem with that is that it also relies on the huge assumption that the revelation from.
So didn't I tell you that I believe the scriptures? Yes.
Do you believe the scriptures, or you know?
I believe that the car keys are next to the cup holder.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't know that. You have nothing to justify because you're not going to lay out what it means to justify anything. Well, you mean
you asked me a justified belief, and I told you I believe the keys are in the cup holder, next to the cup holder.
Still infinite regress.
So are you saying now that you have a justification for that belief? For your key for where your keys are.
Do I have a justification for the belief that the car keys are next to the cup holder?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do I have a justification?
Yes.
Maybe because you can see the damn thing.
It's experiential. You're having a sensory input. You have evidence in front of you. Your empiricism there that you are seeing something. That is okay to say you have a belief or knowledge even of that. I know I'm talking to you guys. Why? Because I'm experiencing it. Except for Reds, he doesn't really exist.
You're an ass. Oh, fuck you.
See, he's a really, really highly trained bot.
Well, it doesn't go.
Going off of logic, right? Then that's how I can get off, get that belief.
Okay, so under the three main principles of logic that people commonly recite, which one of those three principles of logic tell you where your keys are? Is that the principle of excluded middle is?
Yeah.
So
that's the principle of excluded middle?
So the principle of excluded middle is that can be translated into your keys are in the cup holder beside you.
Can you make that syllogism for me or something? I mean,
I'm assuming that it's not that that's a syllogism. That's what that means.
How does that mean that?
I'm really maybe Mr. Predestination can explain that for us now.
You're talking to me to explain how I draw my justified belief from the laws of logic, correct?
Well, specifically the excluded middle.
I'm asking you how you justify that your keys are in the cup holder.
Next to the cup holder.
Next to the cup holder. Based off of the principles of logic. Is that what is written into the principles of logic that concludes? Therefore,
the law of identity.
Okay, so where
excluded middle and the law of non-contradiction, that these keys cannot be in the cup holder at the same time be outside the cup holder.
Okay, but you're first off assuming that they're in the cup holder.
Law of non-contradiction doesn't really apply to physical things like that. It applies to propositions.
Yeah, that's why those propositions that I just told you in my mind, that's why I was able to answer the question.
Okay.
I thought those propositions in my mind, and then I answered.
Yeah. Okay. So.
In logic, the laws using the laws of logic.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to get you to the point that so you believe in logic. Okay. So you believe in these principles of logic. Okay. But so nothing else exists. You have no senses. You can be blind. A brain in a vat. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can be a.
No, you have senses, but you can't draw knowledge from your senses.
Why not?
Okay.
What?
Why not?
So that's okay. So so the principles of logic. So you can't draw knowledge from your senses. So you can't justify that the keys are in the cup holder beside you or beside the cup holder. You can't draw that. Oh shit! Somebody.
Yeah, we'll go on. We'll go on.
Beat up on him for a second.
So you're saying that you can't draw knowledge from experience.
Yeah. Please describe that to me. Please,
I don't know. Yeah, how do you
works.
get to that? If I experience something, I know that I'm. Matter of fact, the only thing we can know is our self-existence. So, but if I'm experiencing something, am I not having knowledge of that? Do I not know I'm talking to you right now, or I just believe it, but I'm not actually? I don't have knowledge of it. Because I clearly have knowledge of it. I know that I'm talking to you.
Definitions of knowledge are different. I go off the normal definition. You guys have your own definition.
What is your definition?
Wait, your definition we've already outlined is not. I mean, you actually agreed that
a universal fact, true knowledge.
Yeah, but
something that is true always, no matter what.
But you agreed earlier in this conversation that your definition of knowledge was admittedly not the philosophical standard. So I find that to be a really strange statement that you say that you have the traditional definition.
No, I just said the normal definition. I didn't say traditional.
Well, it's not even normal definition.
It's not the normal, but it's not the normal. The point I'm making is it's not normal, right? Like,
okay, so I'll look up the philosophical definition of knowledge real quick. Give me a second.
Well, there's really no kind of agreed thing on it. I mean, what's he going with? What definition was he trying to put forward?
He's actually he said it earlier before you got here. He actually basically is knowledge is that which comports with the mind of God. So if it's true in the mind of God, it's true.
Well, yeah, remember, I still want one answer to that because you know, the experience question that we were asking earlier.
Yeah, that's a really that's a silly definition. I'm not sure who would even think that that's an appropriate answer. Sci-10's not that bright. So
I mean, we're gonna say that. Oh, you can't know anything from your senses. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure I know that what you just said
is bullshit.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Why would you do this? He comes in here and you didn't even give him the context. And what I just said, you misrepresented what I said. You only gave part of what I said.
Okay,
I said knowledge is something that is universally true. That is a universal fact. That's what I said. And you just, you go off to what I said afterwards. And I told you, it's a universal fact.
What I said, was I wrong? Is that not what you believe?
No, yes, that's what I told you. But he asked you,
could have expanded upon that.
Knowledge, and you just straight up lied.
Wait, how could How could I have lied if what I said was true based upon what you said is true? If you wanted to expand upon that, that's fine. But what I said was not.
He asked you what my definition of knowledge was, and you didn't give him the definition.
Well, hold on. So here's the one problem I'm going to lay with your put out there with your definition of knowledge, though, is that within your definition of knowledge, all you've done is you just defined a fact as knowledge, in the sense that in that way that, let's say, imagine the hypothetical universe where no minds exist. There's no minds to process these facts. We're still going to call all these facts knowledge, even with nobody to process them, right? Because I mean that's what comes from your system, like your definition. Your definition is basically to say that if it's a fact, it's knowledge, regardless of who, whether there's somebody to even know it or not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would have to go off of my definition of knowledge from the scripture.
Yeah, but I mean, that's beside the point. What I'm saying is that you don't see.
I'm not going to do that.
You don't see any problem at all with like even in a godless universe. Okay, in a universe where God does not exist, all facts are still knowledge. Even there's no minds, there's no God, there's no nothing. We're just going to take a look at a fact, and we're just going to say that's knowledge.
Knowledge is impossible without the existence of God.
No, that's fine, but not according to your definition.
So your hypothetical is
it's not hypothetical, because we're not going over our views on theology or the existence of God right now. All we're talking about is your definition of knowledge. Under your definition of knowledge is perfectly possible without a God. Okay. Because there's no requirement for God in your definition. The only thing that's required in your definition is that there's a fact. As long as there's a fact, there's knowledge. So under your definition that I'm using, God's not required for knowledge. That's fine, but now all we're saying is that all facts are there for knowledge. If no minds existed, there's still knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So what you might want to do to get away from such a what I would
God
say,
is necessary for knowledge.
That's fine. That's your theological view. But your definitional view of what knowledge is does not include God. So we can infer from that definition that God is not required for knowledge.
You've excluded the necessity.
So you don't believe a synonym for fact is knowledge. You deny that.
No, it's not actually. The knowledge is a so what's traditionally, and I would say traditionally or historically, whatever, is that when we are making a distinction between things like knowledge, is that the very first thing that we philosophers have kind of agreed on is that knowledge is a subset of belief. Okay, is that first off, we're talking about conscious agents and propositions that conscious agents make about the state of reality. So those have to be included within the definition, whether it's through the fact that that they hold beliefs or whatever. The need for a conscious agent to have knowledge has to be there first.
So as a coherentist, you do have beliefs, correct?
Of course, I have beliefs.
And a foundationalist has beliefs as well, correct?
Yes,
I'm talking about within the context of their either presuppositions or their system.
Yeah, people have beliefs.
I have beliefs. Everybody's got beliefs.
Okay.
Any conscious mind that can make a proposition or hold on to a thought about a proposition of reality has beliefs. Because a belief is just a proposition about reality that we think is true.
Right.
Like that's all that a belief is.
There are people out there called philosophical zombies that try to get away with this. Oh, I don't have any beliefs, but it's just not philosophically sound. If you are a conscious mind and you're awake, you have beliefs. You formulate opinions. That's a belief. We all have beliefs. Nothing wrong with having belief. But I think some of the theological people out there, they use that word belief differently. But it's
all right. So I'll give you guys a philosophical definition of knowledge. So I'll give it to you right now. True, comma, justified belief, semicolon, certain understanding, comma, as opposed to opinion.
Okay, I think that's kind of a colloquial definition. You need to go Stanford Encyclopedia and look up epistemic theories. There's a lot more involved in knowledge than just reading off a colloquial definition.
I'm asking about the definition of knowledge.
There is no one set definition of knowledge that's useful. Right? My definition of knowledge is different than yours if I'm using reliabilism. Do you not grasp that?
So telling us what your definition of knowledge is.
Well, actually,
you said it.
I've given you my definition of knowledge.
It wasn't reliable, justified belief or something like that.
I was talking about the foundationalist, not the coherentist.
It doesn't matter what the system is, okay? Like, first off, I think that the first point that you need to understand is that there is no agreed upon definition of knowledge. Okay. Now, for the longest time, it was put forward by, I think, Socrates. Was it Socrates? I think so. That kind of came up with like the whole justified true belief to define knowledge. Is that for something to be considered knowledge, it has to be it's a belief that you hold. It has to be true. It has to have some ontological thing that it kind of relates to, and it has to be held through some type of justification. And then what came from that was you could actually present Gettier problems, they're called, which are examples when all three criteria of justified true belief is met, but yet you can say that the person didn't have knowledge. So then the definition that's sometimes accepted is JTB, or the justified true belief definition plus, and the little plus sign to signify whatever the Gettier defeater would be for that case. But then there's other theories out there as well. There's theories like reliabilism, which is another theory for what it means to know things. And that one, I'm probably going to butcher this, is that knowledge, you can consider something considered knowledge if it's a belief that's formed through a reliable process.
And how do you know that's reliable process is reliable?
Well, that's the thing. Is like this. I'm putting forward different definitions. Okay, if you're asking me how do I know that definition is a good definition?
How do you know that the process is reliable? Like the process.
Well, there's
incoherentism. How do you know that's reliable?
Yeah, so this comes down to first off, whether you use an external or internal justification for your epistemic framework. So on an external justification for your epistemology, if you're using something like evolutionary reliabilism, that could be said to be a good argument to why you could have use things like your senses to come to true beliefs to knowledge and things. Okay, so like
please don't use evolution.
Oh Jesus! Is that
You had,
Mr. ID?
you had to mention the E word, didn't you, Sokka?
Evolution will not going to help you
You had to mention the E word. Triggered.
Yeah, he had
Triggered.
shut the fuck up for so long.
Oh my goodness.
Evolution will not going to help you in reality.
Triggered.
Okay.
This is not about evolution. Please shut up.
Okay.
Funny, he has a trigger word. That's hilarious.
That's a trigger word.
So you're saying that every philosophy, or different philosophies have different definitions of knowledge, of the word knowledge. So as a coherentist yourself, what is your definition of knowledge? Without like giving us like a paragraph, just like is it possible that you could give us a simple definition of it?
No, because I don't know what so I subscribe to.
Or do you know what knowledge is? That's what I'm asking.
Do I know what knowledge is? Yes, I subscribe to the camp of I'll do with the JTB plus because it's the easiest way to convey the information.
So you have 4 things that you go by your JTB?
Yeah, well, it's justified true belief, and then whatever the Getty Debater is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Plato.
Yeah, no, I've read that.
Socrates,
I've read that article on JTB Plus, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what is your definition of knowledge, coherentist? Sorry, I'm not looking at your name. The one individual that's coherentist.
Yeah, it's justified true belief. It's it'll be it doesn't matter what my epistemic framework is. The definition of what knowledge is, it doesn't really matter. Like you can be a foundationalist and have one definition. You can be a coherentist, have the same definition. You can have different definitions. It doesn't matter. There's different. The idea is that there's different models of or different ideas of how people define what knowledge is. And
so to you, when you say justified true belief, that equates knowledge. So it's not knowledge doesn't equate truth.
Yeah, it does. Justified true belief. In order for it to be to consider knowledge, it has to be true.
Sokka, 1 sec. Can we get a break here?
Sure.
Red's Rhetoric has an announcement to make.
Not an announcement. Fuck you.
He's coming out of the closet straight. Yes, it's about time. Okay, I'm sorry. What?
That was supposed to be our little secret, but now that you completely blew it.
We have no little secrets. But no, you wanted to say something.
Well, I don't think he wants Steve to completely blow it. If you get my drift.
Oh, he wants me to completely blow it. Trust me.
Anyway,
you said something.
Hang on, Reds has something he wants to say.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Reds.
Go ahead.
Horrible joke aside, I'm sorry, but get on. I wanted to kind of reverse back to this key things and just try to go a little bit slower than this. So, I want my keys. Okay, I want my keys, and I'm looking for them. I see them on my bed. I grab my keys because I know where they are because I can see the damn things. Can you please tell me where God fit in that entire process?
I would ask you, how do you know your keys are there?
Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, you can't answer a question with a question, man. Come on, that's just dishonest. I could say, look, I relied on the knowledge.
He's making a claim that he knows the keys.
I know okay, this is where reliabilism comes. Wait, this is why reliabilism comes in.
Hold on.
Wait, let me answer. Let me answer this.
Steve,
but this is reliabilism.
I got him here. Okay. All right.
So much for that.
Mr. Logic, or Mr. Predestination, whoever you are.
You can say you believe they're there, but you can't say you know.
No. Hold on. Reds is granting you your entire epistemic framework at this point in time. He's saying that, okay, the way that we come to knowledge is through revelational epistemology, the very thing that you are saying exists. So he has his keys, he knows there's in his hand because he's using your framework. Now, what he wants you to do is walk him through this.
And before he does that, Sokka, he can then get in his car and drive away. Right? He has relied upon the knowledge that his keys were on his bed. He's relied on the knowledge that they are there, and he could utilize that knowledge to go driving. That's reliabilism. Now, how does your God fit into that? Why does he need your God to know that?
That's the question. That's the question.
And I'm saying he doesn't know it. He thinks it.
But he does know it. He got in his car and drove. It's true.
Tell me. Prove to me how he knows that.
Because
it's your system. This is your. He's asking you for your system, man.
I'm not making an assertion here, dude. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you to describe to me because you said God is going to be entwined in this process. Show me how he is or she or whatever.
Where did I say that God is entwined in your process of You
said you can't have knowledge without your God.
And what I'm saying is he doesn't have any knowledge.
But he does. He's got it in his car and drove away. It was clearly he believed it, and it was
and
true.
I'm asking you, prove to me, or even if that's not the right question or statement, show me, or that's the same thing.
Okay, you know what?
How do you know that?
Hold on a second, Mr. Predestination. Here's the problem, though, is that like there's no charity being given here. Is that you have come out here and you've made the statement several times over, okay, that God is necessary for knowledge, and people are just like, okay, well, that's interesting. We've asked you to try to explain it, but you haven't yet. He
is the logos. He's the logic.
That's
so
fine.
all reasoning, all logic.
Great, that's your belief. Prove to me that God is a necessary.
Because he exists. Yeah.
Okay, prove to me that God's existence is necessary for the process of intelligibility.
And that's the key thing. That necessary.
That's the key thing.
Not sufficient. Not sufficiency.
That's what
necessary.
Red's asking for.
Yes.
Yes. So proof. Here you go. You've made this assertion at least 5 or 6 times since I've been in the room. So now before we move on, I want you to prove that point now. So here we go. Like, let's dive into this fucking ball.
Can't prove it.
Pardon me?
Can't prove it.
Then shut the fuck up.
Thank you.
That is why you're. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for coming. This was a great hangout. You guys, hey, Carrie, do you want to have your own hangout on the Great Debate Community? Maybe in about a half hour. I'll show you how to get started on it. You guys can talk about whatever the hell you want and go from there.
That would be good.
Awesome.
If Socket could come, I have some questions for him.
Socket would probably love to come.
That was a precise moment. That was lovely.
Yeah, that was great. All right, so that was a great hangout, guys.
So
I hope you guys got.
Yourself,
hang on. So I got.
Can you prove it?
Well, we're wrapping it up. You can continue on Carrie's hangout on the Great Debate Community in about less than a half hour. Actually, it'll be way less than that because it doesn't take long to set up. But he's going to do a raw feed. It won't be like this, but yeah, it'll work. But anyways, if you got any questions on what we talked about earlier for the news, let me know. If you like the idea of an email, let me know. But I need people to start helping out with uploading content to the Great Debate Community page. I made a lot of people editors. If you find something of interest in the Great Debate Community, in the comments or whatever, and you think it should be its own permanent home, have its own permanent home, post it. I mean, I got posted things from Rational Mind, from Ruhif, and so if you're in the Great Debate Community network and you want to have a video that you think is great, like Helena, she uploaded her things on philosophy. I need somebody to start doing Flat Earth. Someone still has to upload Red's, Rhetoric, and Betty's debate for Flat Earth. Nobody's been able to do that yet. So so please help out with that.
None of us want to lose 50 IQ points.
You don't have to watch it again, but it was really good. But let's see what else. Well, that's about it. That's about the news. So I will set him up. You guys will have another hangout in probably about 15-20 minutes, and you guys are gonna have to do whatever you want, talk about whatever you want. I don't care. Other than that, good night. See you tomorrow morning for the Sunday.